Press start.
Might as well just start the episode. I think I have the number right. 161. I think I got that correct this time. Does that sound right to you guys?
It's not 161 million. It's not. Okay.
It's not 161 million. No. Sorry to say that.
In 8 episodes, it'll be 169.
Which is nothing.
So,
that's not a number. That doesn't mean
anything. Just pretend the one's not there.
It's
and,
when it's it is a thing. Though. It's like it's like a thing where two people do the thing and one person's watching. That's 160.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh,
just standing and watching, and not even doing anything, just standing and watching in the corner, just like.
No cam.
Because it's a 1, so
it's a 1. So they're just standing.
Arms to its side, like
they're just like, wow, look at that.
It's just a 1.
That's really uncomfortable. That's really uncomfortable, actually.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great. Actually,
like laying in the bed next
to them. Now that we're describing it, doesn't sound good at all.
No.
But my name's Tim. I'm here with Dan and Jeff. Hello, boys.
Hello. Happy April Fool's Day to you
both.
That's right.
Celebrated.
I didn't bring any April Fool's jokes because I agree with Kyle's sentiment he shared earlier today, which was it's just the worst. It's really annoying for the most part.
I tweeted a really good one.
Sometimes it can be fun, but usually it's just annoying.
I tweeted a really good one from the Current Cinema Twitter. That's current_cinema to anybody that doesn't follow me.
Would you like to share it?
I hate movies. April Fools, I win.
There you go. You do win.
I'm so good at April Fools.
Yeah, that was
like
you won the internet.
And you get it, Jeff. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You get it.
You get it. You're dialed in. You're dialed in.
I am a big time FromSoft games fan. April Fools. There we go. See? Got you guys again.
We're gonna keep this going. We're gonna keep this going.
You were so the look on y'all's faces. You were like,
we're also gonna talk about the next Game of the Year contender, Crime Boss Rockay City. So that's April Fools, guys. April Fools.
That whole game's an April Fool's joke. How did that happen?
That whole game, yeah.
Hey, joke's on you guys. That's the whole thumbnail. It's just that.
It's just Crime Boss. It's just their crazy.
It's all the
cast.
meme actors from it that are in the game, I guess.
Listen, there are some new games out this week, so we'll talk about anything new you've been playing. But we'll kind of mix in there other stuff you're playing. It doesn't matter if it's new or not. But I actually want to start it off with 2. Definitely one is a video game related movie. The other one you could argue is at least gaming related, not always video games. Sometimes it's dice and tabletop gaming, right? With Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. But Dungeons and Dragons movie and the Tetris movie both recently released, and both got, I think, from what I remember, pretty good review. I know Dungeons and Dragons got good reviews. Tetris did too, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
What a world we live in.
So yeah, 2 video game based movies that are reviewing really well. This is great. I love it. And I shouldn't say video game based. I know Dungeons and Dragons is not based on a video game.
Tabletop.
But yeah, but
I
guess it's kind of nerd culture.
Yeah,
it's all part
games.
of that same kind of like universe in a way. It kind of feels like one of our IP in a little bit, for a lot of us at least. So I want to talk about those first, and then any games that we're playing. But Jeff, I know you saw both of these. Let's talk about Dungeons and Dragons first, though, since that's the one that's in the theaters. Tell me how good or bad this movie is. Were you surprised? Did it meet the hype? Because unfortunately, you got a little bit hyped before this movie, right? A little bit?
Not really.
No? Okay.
I mean,
the reviews were surprising, though, weren't they?
Yeah, very surprising. And I continued to not believe them up until I finished the movie.
That's smart. That's smart.
Yeah. Smart. I was like, I still don't buy it for some reason. I just don't.
Nah.
But leading up to the movie, as I'm in the theater, there's always that excitement every time I see a movie where I'm like, maybe this could be good.
There are certain actors that I see in movies that I'm like, okay, this might actually be really horrible, and it also could be good. And I think Michelle Rodriguez is one of those actors who I'll see her in something, and she's not a bad. I'm not saying she's bad. She puts on a good performance, like she's great. But like she sometimes is in the worst movies. Like some of those movies that she's in are just horrific. And sometimes
she's of the Fast and the Furious movies.
Sometimes she's in great flicks, So it's one of those. She's one of those actors that I don't know has a great ability to be like saying no to projects that come across the desk. I could be wrong, but so when I saw that she was in it too,
she did. We covered this on a little bit on the last Current Cinema podcast episode. Or actually, maybe we didn't. I don't know. But she did say no to James Cameron wanting to revive her character from Avatar 1. He said he said, "Hey, we're going to bring you," because he revived pretty much everybody from the first movie
right.
that died.
Sure.
Death means nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. Because what does it matter? You can just upload your brain as a hard drive into an avatar. It doesn't matter. Yeah. So she said no to that.
It's almost like Marvel, where it's just another universe, so death doesn't matter there either. So it's all the same.
I feel sad about this.
Very
Thanks,
original.
Yeah,
Steals
everybody.
Pocahontas, steals Marvel.
But anyway, let's talk about this movie, D&D.
For Michelle Rodriguez, my respect to her comes from her saying no to that because she's already been revived in Fast and Furious, those movies.
That's right.
That's right. So she was like, I don't want to be the actor that does that all the time, and I respect that. I respect her for taking on this movie and taking on most of the really like interestingly choreographed and like entertaining action sequences. She's the one doing all the melee stuff, like in if we're talking game talk. That's her role in the movie. She's doing all the hand-to-hand combat, and the choreography is actually interesting. Like I always respect when a movie goes out of its way to have clever action sequences when they don't need to. Like, I mean, that's the entire John Wick existence, but that is the gimmick of those movies. But with this, it's just like I just expected a fun fantasy romp. But every time she would pick up an axe or whatever, I'm like, oh, she's gonna kick the crap out of something, and it was satisfying to watch, So awesome. I got to give her props for that. And she's clearly like a stunt person. I think she does a lot of her own stunts.
Yeah. She looks like someone who could actually hurt you if she wanted to. So,
yeah, I would not.
She could stop. She could step on us. She could step on us.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good.
A little bit. I would voluntarily, maybe.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But the quality of the movie itself, it's actually very enjoyable. It's almost like Taika Waititi did it in a way. Don't get me wrong, he has a more specific brand of humor, but I just mean in terms of the way that the jokes are kind of landing and kind of spread out in the movie. Like it opens with Chris Pine kind of explaining his backstory to a panel of judges, and just the way that they're doing the flashbacks and flashing forward to the present, and the jokes that he's telling in between the story. I'm like, this feels like Taika Waititi wrote this or whatever. Like maybe that's just because I'm more familiar with his work and he's had more prominent work in comedy. Whereas these guys that wrote this movie, Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly from Freaks and Geeks, these guys have done like one movie together, like Game Night, and they co-wrote.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So like they really didn't have that. So that's why I compare it to Taika, is because I can only compare this movie to Game Night for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sense.
But yeah, anyway, the comedy totally worked for me. For most of it, I would say like 95% of it. Maybe there were a couple jokes that they didn't need to do that were totally flat. But like,
I think he was balancing the ensemble. I know Chris Pine is the recognizable face we see, along with a few others, like Michelle Rodriguez is recognizable, but like he's the main guy, right? That you'll see on his face everywhere. But it's got an ensemble cast.
It does. Yeah, Hugh Grant is kind of like the rich, smug, villainous douchebag in the movie.
He sticks out to me.
And I'm loving this run of his career where he is just playing this smarmy a-hole in like every.
Dude, he did it in
Operation
Paddington 2.
He did it.
He played it in Paddington 2, and he was great in that type.
Yeah.
Was
he really?
In The Gentleman, he was kind of like a smarmy snake.
Yeah.
He wasn't like the bad guy, but he was.
But he was telling the story. He was a narrator a bit too for a little bit.
Yeah, he did the same thing in Operation Fortune. So pretty much just Guy Ritchie and like whatever else.
I love it too, man. I love Hugh Grant leaning away from the kind of like shy but lovable love interest in most of
bumbling British guy
but he's lovable and he's always love him. Like
so
it's
boring
nice to see him lean away
well,
from
he's
that.
probably tired of doing that, right? So
probably. I would imagine so. But you see that's his real self when he's that bumbling British guy. Because I saw him present at the Oscars and I was like, oh, that's just him in real life. Yeah. So it's cool to see him actually act and like branch out. That's really fun.
Like Notting Hill is just him being Hugh Grant.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Got it.
Whereas Reese Ifans,
oh my gosh, his roommate in that movie.
Yes, yeah, he's the roommate in the movie. Whereas he is just like nutty in every role almost. Yeah, he's great. Anyway, Chris Pine, when you cast Chris Pine in a comedy movie like this, in an ensemble movie, as the lead of the ensemble, you're going to get a Chris Pine performance. Like, I mean, he's just a natural when it comes to being charismatic and funny. He's just so freaking natural. It's effortless for him. Yeah. I can't really think of many gripes with the movie other than maybe the predictability of it. A little too clean, but I mean, that's comes with the territory of being a blockbuster that needs to appeal to a broader audience, you know?
Right, because I mean, like when Dungeons and Dragons started being a thing, I mean, it wasn't like old men doing it, right? It was kind of like kids to teens, maybe young 20s, like when it first started becoming prominent.
It was
like,
all the Stranger Things kids, and that's it. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
That's who I picture, actually. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's just them.
I wish that was my youth. I really do. But now I'm at the age where like I'm having adults ask me if I want to, you know, partake in a D&D game, and I'm like, I've never done it, and also I don't want to hang out with people, so no, thank you.
But yeah, they do. It makes sense that they would want it to appeal to that kind of audience,
and
then like
it does.
You know.
What's interesting is I would
have
say
like a music video vibe, because the trailer had almost a music video rock and roll slow-mo vibe.
They did have that in the trailers, and none of that was replicated in the full movie to me.
Interesting. Okay.
So I found that marketing strategy very off-putting personally.
Yeah,
like I just don't.
It seemed bad.
I didn't understand, like much like Kyle has said repeatedly. He's like, I would love to know how "Whole Lotta Love" by Led Zeppelin factors into this movie, because they play it in every freaking trailer. And the song's not in the movie at all, so it was just a marketing choice to be like, oh, look at that badass movie. Like it really had nothing.
No, it's very clearly ripping off the vibes of the recent Thor movies and a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like and even Love and Thunder. Like it's trying to pull from those types of movies. Like, hey, look, we're gonna have fun with our kind of fantasy flashy setting. And you're right, the trailers were a little bit of a miss. So it's so cool to hear that the movie itself actually delivers.
Oh, completely. With this specifically, you need a full picture to appreciate what they're actually doing with the script.
I love it though. I love when this happens, because usually trailers can tell you like, stay away from this. Right.
But that's music is such an important thing though, and it, you know, honestly, this leans, and I've mentioned this before. I get like irritated with it, like video game trailers where it's just like slow motion explode, and they're just blaring the hip hop, and it's like so for me personally, I just don't like hip hop, but like it's also not matching the tone of the trailer, but also the game has music in it. Just play that freaking music, like, because then no one's getting to participate.
At the mercy of timelines or deadlines. And what happens at least this is as far as the movie industry goes, they don't have a score done yet. That's one of the last things they do. So they have to use either temp music or really, really famous rock songs.
Well, then you know so what? Like, maybe like understand like the tone of the situation and lean more like, all right, so this is like a fantasy setting. So let's find some kind of like
I would have rather they typically use temp music for trailers when they don't have a score ready yet.
Yeah.
And I would rather they do that for a fantasy movie that does not have pop culture references in it.
Yeah.
This movie does not. It's not like an anachronistic movie where like you have modern rock music playing in the background during badass scenes or anything like. You don't really have that. It's a fantasy movie all the way through.
With fantasy type music,
comedy.
Right? Like,
yeah, exactly. With an actual score. I can't remember who did the score, but they did a really good job. Might have been Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo. I can't remember.
So is this a movie that you will rewatch when it hits streaming or whatever? Is this a rewatch for you?
Yeah, I would definitely. Actually, I'd probably buy it whenever it comes out on.
There you go.
On demand 4K. I really, really like this movie. It's a really fun time.
You ended up giving it like a 3.5,
4, I think. Yeah.
4 out of 5.
It was 4. Yeah, it was
4. Yeah, it was really good. It was really freaking good. We're kind of in a good place with these movies that are either based on video games or adaptations of them, or
culture type stuff,
based on gaming in general. Like I feel like we're in a good place. Like the pinball movie was really good too. So I mean, what's going on? What is happening?
I don't know, but I love it.
What is going on?
It's in the water.
The Last of Us series was made by people who love it and respect it. Yeah. Seems like Dungeons and Dragons seems to have been made by people who love it and know what makes it appealing and fun, to amp that up.
I can vouch for some of that too, because my showing wasn't sold out, but it was definitely full enough to where I could hear at least a fourth of the people freak out at random references that were on the screen.
Oh, that's great.
So like, to me, they were extremely random. Like it would be like a crab comes in, and I'd hear like,
it's that crab.
What the hell? What does this matter? I don't understand. What's the reference?
You know.
So I mean, that stuff is there, and that's really cool. Yeah. So they did care enough to include stuff like that while also making it accessible for everybody.
Almost kind of like if you let people that are passionate about a thing, like just do what they do best at that thing, and like it comes together and it works, instead of just having like maybe suits come in and fuck with it, or hire some random, or not random, but somebody who just doesn't get what the thing is, you know.
That's what happens when they hire most of the time it's when they hire a name, like, oh, this guy made a really great movie over here.
Sure.
He has not shown me that he loves this property, but let's just hire him because people know who he is.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Instead of researching, oh, they're really into this. Like, I think the guys that did this movie were like really into it and actually had to pitch it. Like they were very passionate about the subject matter. So
it seems like
and that comes through. It definitely comes through.
Nice.
Really entertaining.
Well,
the guy who plays the paladin or whatever, he's the guy from Bridgerton who women fawn over. He's so funny in this. He's one of those literal characters who doesn't understand metaphors or whatever. Sure. But it's done in kind of, for some reason, it's done in a refreshing way. I don't know what it is about that. Sometimes I roll my eyes, and sometimes it works. Yeah, he's kind of like a Drax.
Isn't the kid from The Quarry in this too?
Yeah, Justice Smith.
Yeah, the Pikachu movie.
And the Pikachu detective movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
And another great video game adaptation movie. By
and
the
way. Jurassic, yes, that one's decent.
Jurassic World. Yeah,
in the Jurassic World movies where he's not really doing much at all, but he's in them. He's good in this too. He plays like a wizard who is not very good at at doing the magic stuff. But Chris Pine is there to sell him up to, like, he's constantly upselling it, like him to other people and stuff. No, this guy's he's a master wizard, and he's like, he can barely conjure
it's like, dude, I don't know.
Like a fire. Like, he just conjures a candle basically with his finger. That's it. There's some great comedy, great action sequences. Highly recommend. Quality blockbuster.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love hearing that, and I'm glad to hear that this Tetris movie apparently is pretty good too. Now the cast looks great. I love Taron Egerton. I think he's one of those guys who's got the best of his career is still ahead of him, and he's already had an incredible career.
I totally agree with that.
And I just think he's fantastic. If you haven't seen Blackbird, or even like, of course, the stuff he's really recognized for would be like the Elton John role and stuff like that. And the Kingsman, I thought the original.
Oh, him. Yeah. Okay. I was like, I thought that's who you were talking about.
Even when he does like a voice and sings, like he did both Sing movies as Johnny, the gorilla kid.
Oh, really?
He's the lead. I didn't realize that.
He's so freaking good, dude.
That's him?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He can sing like a crazy person.
Well, yeah, no wonder he got the Elton John.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
he was able to sing all that himself. Yeah.
He's crazy. But that being said, in this, he plays the guy who's trying to get the rights to Tetris.
Right.
And especially when it comes to this deal for this new game. I love, by the way, in the trailer, because I've only seen the trailer. I'm planning on watching the movie this weekend. I just haven't had a chance to yet. In the trailer, they reveal the Game Boy. So this is not a spoiler or anything, but like in the trailer, it shows them like this, and it's almost like this big reveal. It's uncovered the Game Boy, and then he's like, "We could package Tetris with it." I still remember getting my Game Boy with Tetris. That was like the go-to game.
It was his goal was setting it as a launch title for Game Boy with Nintendo, but he was competing with, I think there were two other either American companies or just people that in general are in that business of patenting things or whatever you want to call it, publishing things. Yeah. So he's like constantly competing with them, and also having to go to Russia where Tetris was developed, just by some rando.
So he meets with the creator, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah. He meets with the creator.
The sticker fell off. I have my original cartridge of Tetris. So.
Oh wow, that's awesome though.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I mean, the battery in this, I'm sure, is dead. Like, it probably doesn't even really work for all I know.
I actually have it somewhere because I still have the Game Boy
Switch
Advance. I still have the Game Boy Advance SP that flipped open.
Yep.
Wow. And so,
dude, that thing was awesome.
It actually fits old Game Boy cartridges, and so I have my copy of Tetris and Mario and a couple of the games. It's somewhere in the house in a box that I have.
Wow.
Yeah. That belongs in a museum.
Yes, it does indeed.
Museum.
What is this all?
Belongs in a museum.
So Tetris is definitely it's reflective of, it's not 100% truthful of what happened, but it is telling a historical I don't know what you call it. It's a historical adaptation of how Tetris came to be on Game Boy primarily.
That's interesting.
And on Nintendo platforms. And that is interesting. It's definitely not, if this were like Illumination Entertainment, who does all the Despicable Me stuff and Minions. I'm just glad it's not one of those type of animated movies where people are talking to each other and it's annoying. I'm glad it's not that. It's
like an actual history thing of like, this is.
Yes, it's a drama.
Where they make some joke about the little square piece thing, something that nobody wants. I get it.
Well, like the Emoji Movie, right? Like, they're just like
exactly.
like that kind of nonsense. Like,
was that Illumination? Did they do the Emoji?
I have no
they
idea.
might have. It sounds like something they would do. Honestly,
it sounds like something they would.
It really does. I'm pretty sure they did the Angry Birds one.
Listen, the Mario movie is going to be great. All right, the Mario movie is going to be great.
That is them. So that's my only concern, but it should be fun. I am going to see it.
Dude, if the Mario movie hits, this might be the best year of video game based, or at least gaming based movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Movies,
I guess
adaptations, yeah.
movie and TV shows, if you count us, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one is the drama.
What is this? Is this a drama? Is it a comedy?
Yeah, it's a drama / like there's like a thriller element to it where he's in Russia. I feel like half this movie maybe didn't happen the way it did in the movie.
Sure.
In real life. But there are parts where he's in Russia and he does not know. There's like just an ominous feeling of, because it's Soviet Russia back in the 80s. It's not, well, it's probably worse now for Americans over there, but back then you could travel there. It was just, there was definitely an ominous feeling of like, I'm being watched, I'm being followed, am I going to make it home? Just those general, now it's like, don't travel there, period, because they're they're in a war. Just don't go there.
Because Putin's a lunatic.
Yeah, maybe there might be some of that.
Also, it might not be the most like destination fun place to go. But continue.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, just look at the Olympics and what happened there. Like, all the stories about where people were staying. Yeah. Give me a break. So like there's some very tense moments like that, especially, and the movie just doesn't relent. Like, I feel like he discovers Tetris, meets with Nintendo, and like gets like a tangible offer of money, all in the first like 15 minutes. I'm like, whoa, we got a long way to go. Like, it's
speed running. We're speed running.
It's like an hour and 40-minute movie, and I'm like, we got a long way to go. But they didn't really let up. They didn't really lose steam. It is a very good movie. It's just the pinball movie is very similar. So I had that movie in my head.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But pinball is very much kind of similar in a sense that it's a historical drama, and it's about trying to get this game out to the masses. Whether it's because pinball was outlawed, which it was, and he's trying to legalize it again in this country, or they're just trying to secure the rights for a game so everybody can buy it. There's some interesting stuff too, and there's some interesting stories about some Russian characters that really didn't like the way people in charge were operating, like Gorbachev's people and stuff like that. So
I knew there was some politics from the trailer. It showed some political type stuff going on.
It's interesting, man. It reminds me of *Halt and Catch Fire*, which was also kind of set in that era. It's an AMC show, very under the radar. It went for 4 seasons. It's really freaking good though. And it's like about the rise of the PC, just IBM, all that stuff. But it's like it's following around this fictional company, like this totally fictional company trying to survive in this Microsoft / IBM world.
That's interesting.
And it's very much like that, where it feels real, but some of it obviously feels fictionalized. And the score sounds very similar to what *Halt Catch Fire* did, where it's very synth heavy. It feels very 90s with a lot of video games.
Is it the same people? Like all this crossover with the pinball? No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't recognize the director's name at all.
It's kind of like back in the 90s when they had all the world will end with a meteor hitting it movies and the volcano movies. They all like hit at the same time.
At the same time.
Sure.
You had like Dante's Peak and Volcano. You had Armageddon and Deep Impact. Same year.
Same year. Yeah.
Just weird way that
so freaking crazy. It's a weird
there's a line from the trailer that I assume is in the movie, and I'm curious what you guys think about it, where they say it's the perfect game. And I know that's meant to like over dramatize like the value of this thing. I totally get it. But then I was thinking about it and I was like, there probably are several examples of things that could be said for what it is and for what it's trying to be. It hits it perfectly. There's no way to improve it. Like, it is what it is. I do think Tetris probably falls in that category. There might be a few dozen games over the last few decades that kind of check those boxes. But like, yep.
I think that is. Yeah, I think I agree with that actually, because look at how every iteration of Tetris that has come out so far, the core gameplay has never changed one single time. Like, even in Tetris 99, in Tetris whatever the hell that one was on Xbox, I don't remember, the pretty one that's whatever you play online and
Tetris Connect,
something like that. Yeah. Like the core gameplay
rave stuff going on,
which is cool, by the way. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that stuff is cool. Yeah. The soundtrack was excellent.
Yeah.
On that. But yeah, like, it's just it has to be true, and also anybody can play it. It's like, grandparents could play this.
There's no tutorial required. You just see the pieces falling, and within a few little drops, you're like, oh, I see what.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy for anybody to figure out at any age. So
and with the newer ones, they've added sort of new rules to hitting, like stacking for lines where you hit Tetris, like kind of various little extra rules here and there. But like the actual basis of like trying to get the 4 section and getting that like multiplier of points and things like that. Like,
it's not like in a reductive way where it's like, oh, all those games are the same. It's not like where people try to reduce Mario to being like, well, you're still technically jumping around and that's all you do. It's not like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's literally the game is the same as it was when it first came out.
That's true.
It's kind of cool, actually.
But it is fun.
Another thing that I loved in the movie is that they did include like really clever edits of like pixelated, like a scene will come up, like a shot will come up where it's like a picture of a pixelated city, and then the pixels will fall and it'll reveal the real city. And like they do that edit every now and then, and it'll be like level 4, which means like part 4 of the movie or whatever. Like they'll have really clever edits that's really fun with what the game is, which I thought was cool. They stuff they don't need to do for these movies, but it's that extra thing that makes me like it a lot more.
Yeah, well, it makes it stand out because it's video game related, right? So you add all these sort of little like touches to kind of like, you know,
it's like Game Night did that, where like every time they would zoom out, it would look like a board game. You know, and then when you zoom in, it's like, oh, you're right there in the house or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Well, if you have Apple TV Plus, go check this out. If you don't, Apple TV Plus is pretty cheap. And if you bought a PS5 and never cashed in, I think you get 6 months free of Apple TV Plus with your PS5.
I have not cashed in on that. That's
good to know. Really?
And it'll just stack onto your thing. I'm pretty sure
did not know that.
Yeah. You might have to Google that to see if it's still a thing. But I remember someone talked about it on Twitter. I was like, really? And I looked it up and I just punched in my little number and it like gave it to me for 6 months.
Wow. That's so cool.
All right. So anyway, you can check that out too. Yeah. I love when a good movie hits streaming too. Like I'm all about going to the theater when I get the chance, of course, love it. But like when a good movie hits streaming, then that's really cool too. So
so like an example, there's like there's a new Adam Sandler movie that just hit Netflix. It's not reviewing well. It looks so generic and it looks like not good Adam Sandler. Like so like
his Jennifer Aniston flick.
And I'm like skip. Like I'm just like I don't have it in me to sit through. You know, a mediocre movie. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Yeah,
that's what streaming tends to offer.
I have trouble. Well, I won't get into it. I'm not a big fan of people who have clearly had a lot of work done on their face. It's hard to look at them on a high def TV as they're trying to talk and emote, and I'm like, your face isn't moving. I can't watch you.
I get it, dude. I get it.
Renee Zellweger, Sandra Bullock, Jennifer Aniston, like they all were very beautiful and they didn't want to let it go. And I understand it. I'm not blaming. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I don't know if she has. Has she?
1,000.
Because I know. What's her face? The other one, the brunette. Why can't I think of her name on Friends? Courtney Cox. Thank you. She absolutely did.
Yeah.
She like absolutely did to the point where
it's a
it's
little
like,
more obvious with her.
She's like a different human being. But
Meg Ryan is another bad example of that. So there's certainly tiers, right? There's certainly tiers of it. But, anyway, and it happens with guys too. Like there's certain guys on the screen. It's like I can't look like John Travolta. I can't like when they zoom in on your face. I can't look at your face.
It's like plastic.
Tom Cruise did something recent too that made it look like what the hell's going on with his face. I mean, it really is just the impossible standards that you have to live up to, and this is why I never want to do anything with that profession at all. Because this is you're not allowed to age.
I'm not casting any judgment on them as individuals. I'm just saying it's hard for me. Like you do what you want to do, totally. But like I'm just like I can't look at it. We just watched Brad Pitt on Bullet Train. Lots of zoom ins on his face. He's an excellent looking 50-something-year-old, but he doesn't look like he's trying to be 24. You know,
right? Yeah.
So as Bill Burr said, would you rather be 50 and look 50, or be 50 and look like a 28-year-old lizard?
Right. So, yes, exactly.
I'm gonna go with 50. All right. Speaking of looking really weird,
I wanted to mention for D&D, Derek's going to jump in at some point here in the future once one of the final 4 games is over, and he'll have some more stuff to say about Dungeons and Dragons, I'm sure, because he saw it as well on Sunday.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Let me see if that game's over. I just didn't think he was going to make it because I think that game wasn't even into halftime when we started.
It was at halftime when he messaged about that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's still on. All right. So speaking of looking real funky, we talked about we don't hate actors. Okay, don't get me wrong on that. But speaking of looking real funky, Joel's not looking so great on some versions of The Last of Us.
No, he looks beautiful. All right, he looks.
It's funny.
Judging his eyebrows.
You go back and play the PS3 version, the original, or the PS4 remastered, or the PS5 remastered. They all look fantastic still at different levels, right? Like obviously the PS5 one looks the best, but even the PS3 one, pretty impressive in terms of like how the characters look.
Listen. All right,
Jimmy Ryan's back.
Jimmy doesn't need you talking shit about the greatest video game series of all time, the most popular, the highest rated video game series of all time. All right.
Hey, Jimmy, let me finish. Let me finish. I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
I'm gonna let you finish.
This is not a diss on
but
Sony.
Last of Us is the greatest game of all time.
This is not a diss on Sony. This is a diss on Iron Galaxy, and we'll talk about them during our head. Actually, I want to talk about them now. We don't have to wait till headlines. We can talk about them now. So, Iron Galaxy is the same team that has handled so many different ports, and if you just look at them on Wikipedia, they've been support devs and main devs on lots of different games, mostly ports. They've done a few original games, like they developed Rumbleverse. And if that game rings a bell, that's because you probably saw the headline that it was just taken offline like 2 months ago. So it only lasted for like 7 months before they killed it.
Whoops.
The Rumbleverse didn't do too great. I'm not saying it was a bad game, but it did not catch on, that's for sure. But they did most of the work on the PC version of 2015's Batman Arkham Knight. So that, I don't know if you remember that, but that went so poorly, they took it off the store till they fixed it. So it was actually removed from being sold until they fixed it. So that track record is bad, but they've also done a lot of work on excellent ports like Metroid Prime Remastered and several others.
In the same year, no less.
They did the Diablo 3 port for Switch, which is an amazing version of Diablo 3 on Switch. So like, it's a roller coaster. I don't know what to believe. Like, at one point, do you blame them or say like, hey, they were just providing support? And
maybe they were given the task to, like, they weren't given enough time, basically. Like, maybe some of these projects they weren't given enough time. Like,
could be. Yep. So this is not necessarily to say that Iron Galaxy is bad. It sounds like they do some pretty good work, and sometimes the work's just not finished. Maybe because I think Arkham Knight eventually came out and people liked it on PC. Once it finally works.
Yeah, it's good now. If you go to Steam, it'll say either mostly or overwhelmingly positive.
Like the recent reviews or whatever are all good. Yeah. So all that to say, this is just a very unique thing that Naughty Dog partnered with them to bring this port over, and it is by far the worst reviewed port that Sony's done to PC yet. And
so disappointing. In
my opinion, it's nothing to do with the game itself. People will review bomb a game because they just don't like the story and they don't care about it, like with part 2 especially. But these are mostly bad because the performance is so bad and the crashing is apparently quite bad too. Horrible optimization, said one review. One person said the game takes more than 8 gigs of VRAM on medium settings, 100% CPU utilization in menu. So essentially it'll like burn out your PC.
Insane, dude.
If you try to. So it's just not optimized. It's horribly optimized. And because of that, people have to set the graphic settings lower, which has generated some of the funniest memes of Joel that exist.
Joel's been through worse.
He has. You're right. That's a good call, Dan. It's a good call.
Yeah. It's been through worse.
But Naughty Dog's been ahead of it. They're talking about like, we hear you, we're fixing it, we're working with Iron Galaxy, and we're going to address it. So they're rolling out patches. There's already been like
I've seen 2 updates. I've seen so many videos of and again, this is the internet, so they could just be videos from like old PS3 days, Last of Us. But I doubt they are. I think they're PC. But like example, when they're driving, Sarah, Joel, and Tommy are driving at the very beginning of the game. I've seen some footage of them like standing in the car or like
T-posing in the car, like
not T-posing, just like standing, or like Tommy's just like running like in front of the car as it's driving, and they're doing all their lines and stuff, but the character animations are just like not matching at all.
It's like pretty bad.
Yeah. So many memes out there. Like,
that is pretty bad.
Well,
I think it's fair to say none of the 3 of us are playing it at the moment.
I'm waiting on this one.
But I'll certainly grab it at some point. There's been some good sales on other Sony exclusives on PC, like God of War and Horizon, especially on CD keys. You can get it for pretty cheap at times.
So get those. Those ports are great.
Yeah, those ports are excellent. They run great. Days Gone is another one that I fully plan on giving that game a full playthrough on the PC, because I did a healthy chunk of it on the PS4 a long time ago. Thought it was fine, but kind of lost interest in it. But from what I've seen and read on the PC version, I got it for like $7, I think, on some sale. I was like, sure, I'll throw this in the library for the backlog. But I've heard it's great on PC, so I got to give Days Gone another.
I've heard that too, and it's a game that I played like an hour or 2 of, and I was like, I don't think I'm in the mood for this. And Dan,
were you a Days Gone guy? Did you play that one?
I played it. I was doing a lot of the side stuff in the beginning, and then I got to the point where I was like, all right, other things are going to be coming out, so I need to move on. So I definitely like just kind of plowed through towards the end. But yeah,
you did finish it. You wrapped up.
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked it.
Yeah, like worthy of a sequel from most accounts of people that play.
Oh, absolutely. But Jimmy and I here have discussed it, and it's just not in the cards right now.
Sure,
I think there's just other priorities.
Jimmy cannot hold cards with his boxing gloves he has on right now. But that's
literally you can't.
No, we got Spider-Man coming out. We got Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Yeah,
Spider-Man.
That's right. You still have to deal with the aftermath of Chia, that mega hit that just arrived.
Yeah.
I get it.
Mega hit of the year.
Game of 2023. Yep. I get it.
Yep. That's right.
By the way, I think Derek did play this one, and I don't think he had any negative thoughts on it. But we'll have to ask if he's able.
All right. Well, Jimmy's got to go. He's got fires to put out. So
get out of here, Jimmy. Especially because the next game, that's a new game that came out, is no longer a PlayStation exclusive because Jimmy didn't do his job. MLB The Show 23, which is on Game Pass. It's on Switch. I mean, Sony did not hold on to it. I'm just kidding. It's not their fault. But anyway, the MLB The Show 23 sounds like another great iteration of this game. I haven't played it.
Reviews have been fantastic. I did.
Last year's were down a little bit, right?
I installed. Yeah, I think they were
a little bit,
but it was still good. It was still positive. Yeah. I installed it on the Series S. It's not PC Game Pass. It's just the consoles.
Okay.
So I installed it. Have not touched it at all. We'll get to the game that I've been kind of playing obsessively. But this one, I do recall that there is a story mode involving the Negro Leagues from like the 40s or whenever that was. And I've heard really great things about that. And I know Thomas and Jacqueline in the group are like, they love this game. Like they even the night that it launched, they stayed up so late because they like lost track of time. They were loving it so much.
Actually, you know what? I was streaming on Thursday, and Thomas came in and he mentioned like, what was it, the Mets versus the Phillies game, or he said Phils, I think. And his team won, which was, I think, the Mets. Mm-hmm. So then Jackie was playing the show as the Phillies to win because they lost, because that's her team. So she just like apparently went off, like was like, well, I'm just gonna go play the show.
Dude, I have done that before. I have done that when my team has lost a football game. I've gone and played the football game with the team I wanted to win after we lost, and I've gone and dominated the team that just beat us in real life. I've done that. Like, since I was a little kid, I was like, if 49ers lost, that's fine. I'm going to go destroy the Cowboys or whoever it was. Like, I remember...
Exact my revenge
digitally. No one else saw it, but it felt good for me. It allowed me to sleep that night.
In the N64 era, I definitely did that with Blitz and the Buffalo Bills. Like, pretty much anytime... Because I faced a mountain of disappointment.
I love NFL Blitz, man.
As a Bills fan, we get disappointed on the regular. So it happened a lot for me. I definitely took them to the Super Bowl quite a bit.
Yeah, that 30 for 30 on Buffalo, the 4 whatever in Buffalo, that was
in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget that 30 for 30 special
thing that we have.
That's a great documentary though. I do recommend it. Like I think it was called like the 4 something in Buffalo. No, it's not losses. It's something, but it's something. It's a really good 30 for 30 on the Buffalo Bills.
I'll probably cry through all of it.
Probably. Hey, Derek has joined us. Derek, have you played any MLB The Show 23? Do you care about that game this year or not yet, maybe?
No, I don't care about that.
Okay, but what about Last of Us Part 1? We talked about some of the big news around it and some of the problems that they're having and trying to fix, but your general takeaway from it?
Oh, yeah. I got to the part where you get Ellie.
Okay.
So my only...
What was that? What was it?
Jimmy Ryan keeps showing up.
He just wants to make sure you guys are saying all the appropriate. We don't want any legal problems here. Right?
Fine.
Fine.
Okay. So I did have technical issues in the beginning, like literally the first time I booted it up. I flipped HDR on and it kicked me. And then there was another. Oh, when you first boot it up and it starts to say like, please hold while we, do your shaders. That was like moving so slow that I actually thought it was stuck. So I was like, I don't think this is doing anything, but it was doing something. It's just apparently ridiculously slow. I know they have patched it, and so when I actually went back and played it to get to the part where I get Ellie, which is I think about an hour and a half into the game. the booting it up wasn't a problem. I had no graphical glitches. In fact, I was really impressed because I think the PS5 version's a really it's a really good looking game. It's not like it's not like I expected the PC version. I know PC hardware, especially mine, is superior, but when it's taking a game like that, usually PS5 or current gen consoles can run those type of games almost on par with even high-end PCs just because they're older games. But this one I was actually surprised that it does look completely superior on PC. Like I'm talking everything maxed out, ray tracing, everything maxed out. It ran fine. I did run into a few hiccups with the frames dropping a little bit, but nothing that I was like, I can't play this game. It just keeps dropping. It was just a couple quick moments where it dropped and then it went back up. But I think they're fixing it. That's not an excuse. Obviously, you don't want to release a port like that. Horizon Zero Dawn released like that in case people forgot about that.
They fixed
this
it
isn't
up.
the first. Yeah, they fixed it, but I know when that game first came out, I was pissed because I couldn't play it. It was just I didn't have as good hardware, and the mid-level hardware I had was really struggling to play it. But once
that's what people are experiencing now with Last of Us.
Yeah.
Like it's cooking their PCs, and they have to
and
lower
I
the
have a
settings.
feeling, yeah,
They have
I
to
a
lower the
feeling that's
settings
what
so
it is.
much that it looks awful, and so
Yep.
that's kind of what's happening with for a lot of people right now. You shouldn't have to spend whatever $3,000-4,000 on the best of the best for a PC to make this look great. So they need to optimize it. Hopefully they do.
Well, current gen consoles are basically the equivalent of an RTX 2070 Super. So that's a decent mid-level credit card, graphics card.
That's exactly the one that I have as a 2070 Super.
So to me, you should be able to run this game at least the PS5 level without any major issues.
Yeah, hopefully they get that fixed up, like Derek said, like they did with Horizon. Did anyone play? Is anyone planning to even try Crime Boss Rockay City, which is currently sitting? I want to remind you I want to say it's a 45 on Metacritic. Let me check that to see if that's Crime Boss. 48. My bad. It went up a little bit. 48.
How dare you, sir, undersell the quality of
I did
the
undersell
classic
it.
Crime Boss.
I did undersell it. Did anybody play it? You plan on playing it? If not, we can just move on from it.
It has to be on the deepest of sales for me to consider getting this game.
It's like
honestly.
$40, I think, right? I think its full price is.
I think it's not a full price game, but if it were like $5, sure, I'd get it.
Can we just all acknowledge that the cast in this game is bonkers? Like,
it's
absolutely bonkers.
Well, I'm gonna have to switch out the thumbnaile then. Speaking of which, speaking of which,
Chuck Norris sounded.
Have you guys seen this
terrible.
Telltale game?
It does
Ellie with the eyebrows. Yeah, Chuck Norris.
I guess that's
Chuck
real,
Norris,
but I have trouble
It looks
believing
like
that people. I have trouble believing people were actually having to play it like that.
I mean, honestly, it looks like a really bad version of what was that? Not Telltale, but the other game where you're the girl and you can rewind time. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh, Life is Strange.
It has a Life is Strange vibe to it, but an ugly version of Life is Strange.
Oh,
I don't know. It's not good. It's not good.
Well, so Crime Boss, I think the most common criticism from all the YouTube and Reddit comments, which are very accurate, is like, oh, they spent all their budget on the cast and they forgot to make a quality game.
They forgot to make a game.
Yeah, they forgot to make a game. Period. Like apparently,
a lot of people don't know what it is.
Apparently, even as gamers are playing it and streamers are playing it, they're still like, what am I doing?
That's
like,
what Kyle said. He said he was watching his buddy play it and was like, we still don't know what this is. We're still not sure what this game is.
Like, it's a first-person shooter, but what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I watched like the intro. Like, there's this guy like MK Gaming or something like that, and he always releases like the full game like on day one.
Yeah.
And so I started watching his. First of all, I think the full game's like 3.5 hours.
My god, you have to replay levels then. Yeah.
I mean, he does edit his stuff, so I would imagine it's another hour and a half, 2 hours. But like the intro is, I don't know the actor, but I recognize him. But he's like kind of like one of those mafia guys, and he's just like tough guys, and he's like talking about like from the streets, and I'm doing this and that, and it looks like he's doing a bank heist, but then it just jumps to like a bunch of cops shooting at you, and you're like, So I guess the bank heist went bad. Like I don't know what's
I
going
watched the
on
opening
here.
scene too, and I was confused. Like, how did this happen?
Yes,
I
it
don't
went
understand.
bad.
Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
already
the
out in the
sh-
street shooting at
The
cops.
shooting looked like it worked. It looked like it was a competent shooter. So I think I agree with Jeff. I think it's more of a like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
did we just make a good decent
they
shooter
paid
with good
they paid
actors?
money for the cast and the tech to like get them filmed and
Sure.
recorded. They
Sure.
paid money for an engine to make sure that they could build at least competent shooting mechanics, and then they had no money left. Like, well,
Yeah.
I guess
Like,
that's it.
well, we're not gonna have a narrative. We don't know what we're like actually gonna have like a plot
how do
or
we
anything. It's
program
just you guys are
objectives?
gonna read dialogue.
We don't know. We don't know how to program any objectives.
We
Just
got
put
Chuck
them-
Norris, guys. We got
Oh,
Chuck
yeah.
Norris.
Well,
Big-
Chuck was
ladies and gentlemen, we
terrible.
got him. Yeah.
Chuck was terrible. Like
I
the
didn't know
little
Chuck
bit
was
I
so
heard him
bad.
talk, I was like, "Oh, please stop!"
Yeah,
Like,
IGN
this
said
is
that
really bad.
before the game even came out and they got a hands-on preview. They were like, "Yeah, Chuck phoned in hard. Like Peter Dinklage levels of phoned in his voice acting."
Yeah.
Sure.
He's
Yeah.
Chuck Norris.
I mean,
Even when
he's
trying
like
hard.
80-year-old.
Yeah, that's true. What is he doing in a video game anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
not-
you guys
he's
have
not
seen
young.
Chuck Norris movies, right? Like that guy's not a good actor.
Oh,
You're
he's
right.
never been a good
You're right.
actor.
Yeah.
But
No.
this is
But
like,
how dare
this
you
is
also? Because
really
Sidekicks
bad.
is a masterpiece.
But how dare you? Listen, he can roundhouse kick with the best of
Delta
them.
Force.
He's a bad actor. But his
I
roundhouse
think he was the one.
Also,
Delta
his cameo in Dodgeball is like the best acting he's ever done in his life. Like that's just
Oh, by far, yeah, for sure.
just a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chuck Norris.
I mean, I remember seeing him in whatever Expendables movie it was and being like, oh
my God, yeah.
This is
Yeah.
not good.
I totally
Anyway,
forgot that. Oh my god, I
think it was
wiped that
the
out of my
third one.
memory because it was
yeah,
so
he's
bad.
in so bad. The DLC for Forza Horizon 5 is out, Rally Adventure. Anybody try that?
I bought the deluxe whatever when the
Okay.
game came out, so I have it installed. It's just I watched like the reviews are very positive for this. Don't get me wrong. It's more rally stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's literally
Which
it.
was
It's-
probably my least favorite of the types of
Yeah,
races.
exactly.
That's what
I'm
I
a street
don't
racer.
care
I prefer
about.
street racing. Yeah.
So I did play a little bit on Xbox Series X. I tried to play it on PC, but for some reason when I went to the rally section, it was like, please install this. I'm like, it's installed. So I don't understand that. But I just played like the opening of the on the Xbox Series X, and I was like, no, I'm not saying it's bad, but I don't play these games for the rally portion. I don't buy any like rally racing games.
Me neither.
I played
Yeah.
those back like on the Dreamcast. I thought
Yeah.
those were pretty cool or whatever, but that was when I was younger and everything was cool. This is like I was like, I'm sure it's good,
So
but I
true.
don't care about it. I don't care about it.
Well, if we do play it, we'll circle back to that one. Last one I want
Yeah.
to call out is 9 Years of Shadows, which looks really cool.
Oh, man.
Jeff, did you play this one?
Yeah, I did. I got like
9 years of
I don't even know how long I got. It was an old college diddle that I did on this one. It was a
The old college.
What
diddle.
kind of
The
title is
old
that?
college diddle.
The old college.
instead of the
diddle.
college try.
If you're curious, this is a side-scrolling Metroidvania with a really
It
cool art
is.
style.
It is, but the art style is it's like whereas with Castlevania or even Metroid, it's they kind of focus more on like dark colors and stuff.
Yeah,
this
this
one
is
is
pretty.
very much like look at the neons and stuff like that. And it is the story is, and there actually is a story. The story starts you in like a totally black and white world. Like color has been totally taken out of the world because of some type of demon entity or whatever that has ravaged the lands. But you don't get a health bar when you start the game. In the prologue, you just pretty much you're expected to just die at some point, and then you get revived by a companion that restores like light and color to the world, and it also can revive like your health bar too if you hug it, which is like such a weird mechanic, but it's pretty much like a stuffed animal that's like flying by you, and if you grab it and hug it, it restores your light bar. It's so freaking weird.
Aw.
Weird mechanic in an otherwise great, like competent, like fluid action platformer. Like it's actually quite good. But it's the Metroidvania formula where the reason I stopped is because I accidentally ran into a boss that I was not equipped to fight, so I just had to eat the death. But it starts me back at the save point that's like way earlier in the game. So I was like, I'm rather go play something else I've been playing. So it's really good. It's just I wasn't in like a headspace to like put in like a true like long session into it. But But I think the setting is really cool, and it's not expensive. I think it was already like 20% off on Steam for launch week.
Yeah, I want to check this one out. 9 Years of Shadows. It's getting pretty decent reviews for being a little side-scrolling game. I think it's in the 70s, high 70s. So
I feel like there's so many of these.
There are so many of these, Dan. You're right.
That's the problem.
Just the past few years, because like obviously there's the type of developers that just are trying to capture that sort of nostalgia of those old SNES, like, side-scrolling action games like that. Yep. So like obviously there was like a whole influx of that, and it still happens. I feel like maybe it's a little less nowadays than when it was more prominent. But there's so many.
Favorite in that genre outside of like big IP like Metroid and Metroid Dread was one of my favorites, but like outside of that was I'm blanking on the name of it now.
Hollow Knight?
No, it'll come back to me.
Okay.
I almost said Severed, but that's not right. Okay. Severed is the first person one. Shoot, now I'm blanking out on what it's called.
Really liked Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight was good. Hollow Knight was great.
Yeah. This one also has a cool like music thing involved, or like where when color is restored to the world, also like art and music is restored, and like performance, like theater and stuff. So like you'll run into a lot of musicians and theater actors and stuff, and they'll be like, hey, I'll help you out. Like they'll give you a quest, or they'll like upgrade some of your stuff or whatever. So I found that to be interesting too. Like there's a lot of like corny crap in the game that, when you describe it, it's like, that's really corny, but when you see it play out in the game, it makes sense. Like it fits.
All right, so I was thinking of Sundered, which is an excellent game.
Okay.
You've talked about that one before.
Wonderful game with amazing art style. They also did Jotun a couple years before that, which is kind of like a Norse.
Great. Oh, I love it.
And then more recently, a couple years ago, they did Spiritfarer. So those are the three games that
So
I sunk a lot of hours in Spiritfarer.
Those are three excellent games, and they're all kind of different from each other too. But anyway,
I think I don't remember Spiritfarer if it was hand drawn, but Jotun is, and it's very impressive. It's kind of like a Diablo POV a little bit, but a little more zoomed in.
Spiritfarer has those gorgeous kind of storybook visuals.
The visuals are great. I just don't remember if it was hand drawn or not, like clearly hand drawn.
Might have had that vibe. I can't remember now either.
It's a cool game though.
Did anybody play Ravenbound? Another kind of AA game, but looked interesting.
The reviews dissuaded me, honestly.
Same here. I'm like, let's wait and see.
And all the gameplay that I watched, like the combat just looked a little too sluggish. Like I want to fight a little more urgently,
The last one that got shadow dropped today on April 1st was The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
The game of the year, guys.
Game of the year.
The trailer is hilarious, by the way, because it starts with all this hype about Sonic's history in gaming, and then it's like Sonic is dead, and then it's just a screenshot of his dead body. It's so freaking funny, dude.
I kind of wish they like had it look a little more violent though, like that. That would have added a little. I mean, obviously they really don't want to do that,
because
but
it is genuinely a Sega drop, so like they couldn't. They couldn't license it, to somebody else to actually have a violent experience with the game. My understanding is it is like a whodunit type of visual novel of sorts or something. That's what I understand it to be. But it's free, man. It's free. It's on Steam. So
what a funny April Fool's Day thing.
I know that's a good one.
And the fact that it actually exists, you can go download it, right?
Yes.
Like it actually is a thing
for free.
Go download.
Yeah, I installed it, and I just haven't touched it yet. But yes, it's definitely
because Jeff, you're playing something else. Tell us about what you've been playing.
Oh, I've been.
It's not new, but it's good.
I can't describe to you the mood that led me to this game, because I don't know what it was that made me go. I was scrolling through my Steam library, and I was like, let's do that. I opted to completely beat Mafia 2, the definitive edition.
Okay.
Nice. I don't know why. I really don't. For some reason in my head it was between that and Assassin's Creed Origins. Assassin's Creed is obviously a lot longer game. But because Mafia 2, I barely put 10 hours into it, and I beat it. It was done. So I have DLC left. But I don't know, man. I was just in the mood for like a linear story driven experience, because I know the first one which I beat when it was remade in 2020. That was my first time experiencing that. I love the story, and I love the world that it puts you in, and I actually kind of love the lack of freedom, like the linearity of it. Like it's
an open world, but not really.
Yeah, it's like an LA Noire open world where like you could go do stuff and sell things to get more money, but what? Why bother? It doesn't matter.
Sure.
Let's go do your story. So I finished the story like a couple hours ago. Really great ending, and I love how it like ties directly into what happens in Mafia at the end of Mafia.
Big time. Yeah.
That's such a freaking clever way to do that. And actually, I was going in my head. I didn't want to say it to you guys because I didn't want any spoilers to come up. But there were parts where I was driving through certain neighborhoods, and I was like, "This looks really familiar," like because I remember the ending, Mafia 1.
Mafia 1.
So like, I started recognizing certain landmarks. And
dude, never water your garden when you're back
so
to the road. Okay,
for real.
Yeah.
Never just like let two guys walk up on you. Period.
Don't do
it.
Like,
what are you doing?
Don't do it.
If you're an old mobster, don't let people go, "Hey, are you this guy?" Like he was just calm and just like, "Yeah,
agreed."
Like,
what's up?
But that was so freaking cool, and I love that the character designs are based on old classic movie actors, which apparently the internet's already done the research on this. But like the lead character Vito looks almost identical to young Marlon Brando from like On the Waterfront era.
Oh, okay.
Rebel Without a Cause. Which the Rebel Without a Cause thing makes sense because the finale does take place at the observatory, planetarium, whatever. And then you have Henry, who he starts the game as your buddy, and then you run into him a little later on, and then something goes wrong. He's modeled after Gregory Peck, younger Gregory Peck, of course.
I could see that. Yeah.
And then there's somebody else I don't recognize that Joe is modeled after. He's like your kind of chubby or best friend or whatever. He's a mouthy guy. That's the thing with these games. I love the camaraderie in them. I love the world and like just the whole explanation of why you're doing what you're doing in terms of like how it helps the family that you're a part of.
Yep.
I love how the stakes feel like there's a whole chapter you go to prison for like 6 years. Like that feels so cool. Like something about them they're actually being consequences for what you're doing. Even just minor infractions like
I kind of like when some games do that. Fable does that sometimes, and there's a couple of like Witcher, I think, has a section like that. Like,
don't get me wrong, this is more linear, and you're kind of being guided through those.
Of course, yeah.
But it feels good in the story to get there. Like I mentioned with you guys, like I felt so rich, and I had this amazing villa, and then as soon as I was like basking in how wonderful it was, all these Irish guys came in and burned it down. I lost.
Yeah, it's like, dude, have you never watched a Mafia movie? You know what's gonna happen.
But that was so cool. I love that type of stuff.
You know, I played through all three of those games again a couple years ago. I remember talking with Derek about how I played the definitive edition, and I played some of the DLC too. The DLC for 2 feels different. It's a little more arcadey. It's a little more like go to this mission and beat your score. Like I'm not saying there's no story.
I've heard that. I have read that on Wikipedia.
It's a little more arcadey. It's a little strange, but that's fine. It's more Mafia 2 if you really like that game. But yeah, you're right. The first 2 games have a very tight correlation in the setting and the characters and in some major story moments. The third one is much more separate because of where it's set. A lot of people didn't like it. They gave it a hard time because of the new setting and totally new characters.
Yeah, like New Orleans adjacent type of area.
There's, without spoiling anything, there is a connection, but it's pretty minor in the larger scope of the whole game. Like the whole game is like out of 100%,
also a
maybe 5%
story. They're using a different storytelling device too, where it's like, look at this documentary style story.
It's much different,
right? Where it's like like old film stock and stuff, and very different.
Very different. Yeah, it is very different.
Big swing. I also love the. I didn't care for the gunplay; it was fine. Sometimes I'd be like shooting a guy, and because the guy was animated, he was doing his reload animation, I wouldn't hit him. Doesn't make any sense. The shooting was
it's like a roll in Dark Souls.
It's so dumb.
But so that's not how real life works.
But the actual
it does
melee,
work that way. That's why John Wick. That's why John Wick always reloads.
Right. Yes.
But so like the melee is so fun though, because like just the holding dodge, and then like you dodge it, and then you can just do a counter punch, and when you grab him for a finishing move, it just feels so satisfying.
Dude, in the third game, what's his name? Is it Lincoln? Is that the main guy in the third game? I just remember like, especially when I didn't want to get into a big firefight, if I didn't have the weaponry to really take down a whole crew, you just wait around a corner and keep whistling, and they'll like, huh, what's that? And they'll walk over, and you just like stab them with you have a gigantic combat knife. You just like stab them, hide their body, and the next guy comes up.
One time.
Huh? What's that? And you walk over.
What's that?
That's why a lot of people complain about that game. It was the combat was like lackluster to them. Like the AI was stupid.
But that's okay.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. The first 2 games, even though they've been remastered and remade, whatever, the combat's not really the highlight for me.
No, to me, they're like Telltale games with like better combat. even though it's not good, is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
You play it for the experience of the characters, the story, the plot, the whole twist. Because that's what I loved about Mafia 2. Mafia 3 even has some of those moments where I'm like, holy crap, this is so good.
Agreed.
Certain characters show up from the first 2 games. So like
it has a lot of style, like that time, the time and the location. It's very stylized.
Oh yeah, because it's like the 60s and
in New Orleans,
Vietnam.
But I have to say that I beat Mafia 3 before I played Mafia 2. And so I didn't quite understand the complaints at the level that they were for Mafia 3, because I just played Mafia 3 and I was like, this is good. It's fun. I don't know what you guys are talking about. It has a good story.
I see.
All that stuff. But when you go back and play Mafia 2, you kind of get it. Like, it doesn't feel like a Mafia game. It just feels like a revenge story. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get that, but it's worth playing. All 3 of them are worth
I will say as well, the Mafia 2 Definitive Edition is still glitchy. They're not going to fix it. It's whatever. No. But there's just little graphical things that you're like, what the hell was that? And then it goes away. There's one whole thing where I'm talking to the older man Leo, and his eyes are just looking to the right the whole freaking time because his head was looking that way the scene before, and so his eyes were just stuck there. And then there's one part where like my guy was walking around, and for some reason he was missing his head was caved in from like here, from like here to here.
Sure.
And then in the next shot, his hair was totally normal.
So,
like, what the hell?
So Jimmy Ryan did the PC port of that game.
Pretty much, yeah. The same exact guys.
No, Jimmy hires the right people to not get the port right.
I don't know, man. It's a Mafia game. People have their heads caved in all the time. It's pretty normal.
Sure, that's
that's true.
I mean, if you F around, you're gonna find out. That's kind of how it goes with the Mafia.
Wow, that's the most aggressive thing Tim has ever said.
By the way,
I still censored it.
I love that chart of the guy who's like teaching like a class. The chart of like the ratio of effing around to the ratio of finding out.
Yeah,
right. It's one of my favorites because it's so dumb and you know what he's gonna say, but he's so serious about it.
Very serious.
Yeah, he's the one that did like the crazy girl like chart too, and just the way he does it.
Because it looks like he's really teaching an online
course. Crazy. This much hot. Like,
so funny.
The hotter they are, more crazy.
I wanted to just throw in there. I have now played through all the DLC courses from Mario Kart 8, and they're all so good. They're so fun. Played the most recent ones first. I went through those, and I'm working through the 150cc now. I did them on 50 and to get used to them. 100, a little more competitive, but still a little too easy. 150 is usually where it gets more challenging.
It's like the right amount of challenging instead of like, why do I always get 5th place or whatever? Yeah.
The only thing I struggle with the Mario Kart games now that I'm older, and I'm not saying I didn't feel this way when I was younger, I did, but it's like really bad now, where it's just like, how much of it is skill and how much of it is the game just decides whether you can win.
Oh yeah, it's Mario Party basically. It's like frustrating.
That's the only thing that frustrates me.
There's a little more control, but like it's the same.
I'm gonna say it's like. It might be like 2/3 skill, 1/3 some luck, because you can get good luck and bad luck. That'd be my.
Yeah, there's times where I'm like, I'll win a game and I'll be like, I should have lost that one.
Oh yeah,
they killed everybody in front of me.
Or times that you're dominating, but you get hit by because of the timing 3 shells in a row and then you're passed by 2 characters.
Oh, absolutely.
That happens.
Which I know that that's part of no secret. Those games have always been weighted that way. Like if you're in first, you always get coins and bananas. You don't get anything else.
Question marks and
Well, now you do get the little like sometimes low rate, but you'll get the sound speaker thing, which is the only way to defend from the purple
yourself.
Shell, or the blue shell.
Anybody who's in like last or the bottom third, they'll usually get the purple shell or something like that.
Or the bullet, the giant bullet.
Or the star, stuff like that. So I know it's always been that way, and that's fine, especially like if you're a young kid, that's super cool. But as you get older, I'm like, dude, I really rock that, and you guys just destroyed me in the last third of this track. Now I have to, because part of it is you want to do it perfectly. You want the perfect run for all the tracks.
You want 3 stars. You don't want just
and you want all the 10 coins, but when you cross the finish line,
but
I'm with
they
you.
screw you.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
with you.
it's there's definitely a little more control, but the RNG is a problem. It's just like Mario Party, but Mario Party is even more chaotic. That's just more nonsense. You could have like you could be winning the whole time, and then it's the last round, and like everybody steals your stars, and you freaking lose all your like it could literally just all happen in the last round, like. You know,
reminds me of the game of life, which I literally played one time.
Game of Life.
I raged out when I lost to the point where we never played it again.
My daughter loves that game, even though that game is just, it truly is like, you could have AI just run it because it's just spinner and it's just lucky wherever you land.
Sure,
yeah.
It's like playing Shoots and Ladders or Sorry or something. It's like you can't control any of this. But
oh god, I totally forgot about Sorry.
But some of the standout tracks that were already released that I'm just now catching up on. There's a Candy one. I forget what system that was on. That might be on Mario Kart Tour, the mobile version.
Yeah.
There's this Candyland one that is just so creative and really cool. I really like that one. Then there's the Rainbow Road from the 3DS version, which I think was Mario Kart 7. That one was really fun.
Yeah.
And then of the new tracks, my favorite is revisiting old Waluigi Stadium from.
Dude, that one was awesome. I love that one.
Yeah, that one's a blast. They're up. And the updates. The updates just look so good. Like the tracks, it looks amazing. I'm still sitting here playing it on the OLED Switch, just thinking like, I know that the Switch is easy to make fun of with whenever there's any ports across other consoles. But this game is gorgeous. It's absolutely
it looks great. They nailed their games.
Breath of the Wild is like, I get it. Like I'm playing it again. The resolution's lower. I can see it.
It's muddled.
You can see it, but it's still really good looking. And then
art design is amazing.
Yeah. And then when they were doing some of the cutscenes, which looks very close to how the game actually looks, so it's not like this huge, like, oh my gosh, this is totally different. But it's cleaner. You don't have like the rough edges or whatever. Yeah. It's really, really good looking. But
I mean, you have to fact. I mean, the game is insane. Like it's massive. It's like with Elden Ring, but Elden Ring is not on the Switch, right? Elden Ring is
that would never work on the Switch.
Yeah, but like
it would look like Ellie from The Last of Us.
And like Tears of the Kingdom, I don't even understand because apparently there's going to be like underground parts, and then there's just like all of the sky stuff. Like it's and all of that is on a Switch cartridge. Like it's insane.
So crazy.
They're gonna have loading screens every 30 seconds.
Probably. And they're gonna last 2.5 minutes each. It's gonna be great.
It's just gonna be a loading screen that says please be excited. And then
we're so sorry. We're so sorry.
Speaking of games that are gorgeous, I know Derek finished it. I'm almost at the end of Resident Evil 4. Dan, I think you're streaming this one. You were.
Yeah, I was just to kind of hang out because I like to switch things up. But I was, before I came on here, I'm at the end of chapter 15. So then I have 16 and I should be done, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, you're done at 16.
Yeah, I'm in chapter 14 myself. So towards the end, but so good, man. It's creepy in the right ways, fun and campy and arcadey in the right ways, and it's just fun. It's what I remember it being. It is still my favorite Resident Evil game.
I would actually move it up in my rankings. So after I beat it on the 360, it was very low in my Resident Evil rankings. But after this playthrough, and then I started a second playthrough in Mario in Chapter 5, it's definitely moved up. I haven't figured out where it's at, but it's that perfect mix of why I love Resident Evil Village so much. It's a
lot like Village. Yeah.
There's some parts that I'm like, okay, this is really creepy. and disturbing, and I don't like it. But there's a lot of action too. There's a lot of parts where you don't have that. And then there's even like towards the end. So you guys have all passed it, so I'm not really spoiling it. It's not like a major spoiler. But there's a certain enemy that like you can only really kill it if you like can see through its body.
Dude, that's the enemy that I just finished.
That
I freaking
scared the crap out of me.
Terrifying.
And then at first I'm like just putting loads of bullets in him because I don't realize that I have to infrared him. Yeah. And I'm just putting, I'm like, he's not dying. He's not dying. What the hell is going on?
And he slithers on the ground and starts eating you.
Yeah, and he's like jumping almost like a whale out of the water. But he's just diving around like, dude,
gross.
Get the fuck away from me.
Yeah,
gross. There's like a few parts even that are like action heavy that are still have that whole like vibe. So I just feel like it's a good mixture. I really do believe, and I thought this before. Even before I played the remake, I felt like Village was mirrored after 4.
I
I
thought
feel
so
like
too. That's why I liked
I've
it so
always
much.
felt like they were trying to like kind of go back to what 4 was, what made 4 special, and I feel like they nailed it in
It
Village.
becomes more actiony as that game goes along,
Yeah,
as Village
absolutely,
progresses. Yeah.
absolutely, and that's
Yeah,
kind of what
And
happens
7
here.
never really becomes super actiony. It has action, but it's
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
full-fledged just
It's
action.
more survival horror,
Which was
which
smart.
I think it was necessary
Yeah,
because of
yeah.
it was a reaction to 6, and 6 was just
Yeah.
dude, even the like creepiest parts of 6 are not that creepy at all. Like there's only one main story in 6 that's semi creepy, and it's Leon, and there's just a
Mhm.
few parts. But because Leon's such an OP character most of the time, you never really felt that in 6. So I understand why 7 they're like, we got to reboot this whole thing. We got to get back to the survival part of
Yeah.
this.
Let's introduce a
Survival
new guy
horror.
and make him weak.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, and they made him very weak, and then
Mm.
Village, while it's him, they start to kind of unravel that there's more to Ethan than you realize,
Yeah.
and it does get a more actiony in that game, and then obviously Resident Evil 4 remake. I
Dude,
feel like
but
they
8
truly
keeps that
nailed
creepiness,
everything.
like that baby in the basement of that one section.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Dude, F that baby. F that baby.
And that
like,
whole dollhouse leading up to it too. But yeah, F
Well,
that.
even in because Dan may have played it, but the DLC for Resident
Yes.
Evil Village,
Yeah.
there is a part, and it's a long part too.
Oh my god.
Where you're messing around with like the dolls and stuff
Yeah,
like that, and it's
and the
very
part where you're
creepy.
turning around and then you turn back, you turn
Yeah.
around. That was terrifying.
Like you're literally walking
Unbelie-
through the levels backwards because
Yes.
if you're not staring at these dolls, they keep
Yep.
like
Oh my
coming
their
God.
eyes are like lit up, but like
Pass,
everything,
hard
the
pass.
room is dark, and it's fucking terrifying. Like,
You know what I
holy
liked
crap.
about 4 too is they've embraced some of the creepy parts, like the part you mentioned with certain enemies being creepy, but there's also a section where you control Ashley and she's doing zero fighting. She has to just do stealth and a little puzzle
Yeah.
solving, but she has this lantern that you can shine. And it also showcased for me like the visual power that they introduced to this game, like the way the lighting works and the way the cone of the lighting, that library and how I mean, it's just a very pretty game too, and I really am enjoying playing.
So out of all of these remakes, I don't know if I said this the other on the last episode, but this one's definitely the most challenging. I've not that I'm struggling, but I've definitely been like, oh man, like I'm like getting tense here because like I'm using more ammo than I usually like, because I'm good at ammo management.
4 was already a hard game.
Yeah,
Sure.
4
was
not an easy
already a
game,
really hard because there's so many boss fights. And
Well,
all,
there's
all of
more
them
enemies.
are sponges.
more enemies.
There's more
Yeah,
enemies
this
coming
one-
at you.
The waves
Yeah.
of
This
enemies
one,
keep
they're
coming, man.
throwing
Yeah.
a ton of enemies at you.
But I
And
will
this
tell you,
was-
when it lands, just not even unlike other tough games, like whether it's FromSoft or whoever it is, other tough games that are out there, when you actually do it right or do it well, I guess, not that you're doing it wrong, but like, when you play well, when you're kind of in the zone and your aiming's pretty good, it feels amazing. Like when you get a couple of kneecap shots off and you make one of them kneel to block the others real quick, just enough time to throw a grenade in or hit them with like an explosive bolt so they all blow up, or to run up and roundhouse kick or whatever, like that's very satisfying. And
It is.
That's to me, it's yet again why it's my favorite Resident Evil game, and this remake, honestly, like it's just reaffirming why I loved that one so much. I always thought, like, was that just nostalgia? Was that just a time of life? Like, why do I love 4 so much more than any of the other Resident Evils I've tried or played all the way through? And now I'm playing this remake, and I'm like, no, this is my favorite one. It's got all the aspects of action, just enough touches of horror that I'm tense, but I'm not creeped out and grossed out that I have to walk away. It's just very tense and pretty creepy at times. But I also really I think the story is much better. The characters are much more interesting,
Well, they really fixed that back.
And I like I really like the itemization. Like I love the inventory system and
Management,
where you combine not only items like the herbs especially, which I never
Tim
just
created a spreadsheet to track all.
I
his
did create a
items.
spreadsheet, Derek. I'm actually going to screen share right now with you guys.
Oh, Jesus.
No, but like combining all the herbs in order to actually increase your overall health as opposed to heal yourself.
Yep.
So I'm always hanging on to those. And then, of course, the treasures. You can just sell the jewels if you're an idiot, or you can hang on to them until you get something to inlay them into, and you can double and triple and quadruple the value for all
That's
those. So
one of the things I love
love it.
about this game is like the amount of like there are side quests, but they're real like they kind of I like how they do it where
Those
it's like
those blue quest things.
you're doing them, yeah, you're doing it while you're progressing through the main. It's not
Yeah.
like veer off this like there's one part where you literally veer off and there's like areas that you're exploring like
I
on the
skipped
lake.
that optional boss. I was like, I don't have the ammo for this, so I didn't even.
Well, yeah, I couldn't fight him on my first playthrough because I literally was out of ammo at
Yeah, I
that
was like,
time.
I can't fight this guy. Yeah.
But I like that they have all these missions so you can earn rewards, and I feel like, and I could be wrong, I don't remember Resident Evil 4 this much. I don't remember there being this many guns, this many upgrades, this many.
Yeah.
Like your arsenal feels like you're fully like.
There's some new guns, but they were mostly there. I think there are some new weapons though.
I do think there's new ones though,
Yeah.
but it just feels like there's just a ton, and that's one of my favorite parts of the Resident Evil games. I like upgrading the weapons and collecting new weapons and figuring out new ways to take on enemies, and I don't know. They
Well,
really
here's why that system's so smart. So let's say you get your first pistol upgraded and you spend all your money to upgrade that because you're like, hey, I'm getting the most handgun ammo and that's just the one I'm going to use the most. But then you're like, well, now this new handgun looks awesome. How am I going to get it? Well, every upgrade increases the value of your handgun by a ton. So when you are ready to switch over, you just sell it and you've got plenty of money to not only buy the new one, but also upgrade it 3 or 4 times. And so that system to me is actually pretty rewarding. It's like, don't hesitate to upgrade your stuff. You're going to get cash for it when you swap it back in, which I think is awesome. So I'm totally loving that. Really enjoying my playthrough of RE4. Before we talk about games coming out this April, anything else you guys wanted to highlight that you're currently playing?
I want to hear, if it's cool with him, Derek's thoughts on Dungeons and Dragons. I think he liked it like I did. So.
Oh yeah. So
because I already talked about it. So.
Okay, yeah, I watched it on Sunday. I did the early screening. I thought it was a fun. The way I described it in our chat, I didn't describe it. I just made the comment. It's Dragon Age Inquisitions, and it just gave me that vibe of like what I wanted in a fantasy movie, and that with a group of like RPG characters. I want them going on a journey, and that's what these guys were doing. They had a reason to go on the journey, which I felt like the reason was good. Like it wasn't like just some like, well, let's just throw something together. Like you actually care about the reason this character is driven for a reason and he needs help. So I felt like the plot was good. I thought most of the characters were great. Most of the humor hit for me. I didn't go, okay, this is trying really too hard, or these characters are, we've seen this a gazillion times. Yeah, I'm sure there was a couple jokes that I'm forgetting about that I was like, okay, I've seen that before. It wasn't that funny. But for the most part, I thought the humor hit, and there wasn't a lot of action, but the action they did have, I thought was really well done as well. So I thought overall, it's a nice surprise. I wouldn't say I went into it with low expectations because I went and saw it after reviews came out and it seemed like most people were enjoying it. So I was like, that makes me want to see this more. So with decent expectations, I still walked away from it going, this was a really fun, good movie that I'm going to not only watch again, but I'm going to actually buy the 4K Blu-ray. So that means I actually care about you if I'll buy a 4K Blu-ray.
Nice.
As far as games go, I did beat a couple of games this week. I beat Resident Evil 4. We already talked about this, so I won't waste your time with that. I did finish my second playthrough of Horizon Forbidden West, so I am ready for Burning Shores. I thought the second playthrough was more fun. Yes, it's also because I'm like OP, but it's it was just more. I don't know. I kind of agree with Gaston, and that it's when you're playing it the second time, you can kind of more focus on the things that you like instead of being like, oh my God, there's this big world and I need to upgrade my character and I need to do all this stuff. I just focused. I did a lot of like side stuff, especially in the beginning, in the middle of the game. But towards the end, I just locked in and I just focused on the story missions. That's why I was surprised I was at the end. I wasn't even like trying to be dramatic. I was like, I'm literally at the last mission. Why did I walk away from this game a month ago? I didn't not the the last missions. I was on the second to last because you know when you're on the last mission.
Yeah.
So I was on the
Right.
second to last
Yeah, it
mission,
tells
but
you.
I didn't know. But I just enjoyed it overall more, and it's like I said, it's got me ready for Burning Shores,
Burning Shores,
which I'm excited about. That comes out in a couple weeks or a little more than 2 weeks. And then as far as anything else I'm playing, I am replaying Resident Evil 4. I did start Zelda Breath of the Wild. All the hype from the new Tears of the Kingdom, I'm all in. I've pre-ordered the new Switch OLED with the Zelda logos on it. I bought a hard copy of the game for my daughter because I talked to her and she's like, "Yeah, Dad, I want to play it." I'm like, "Got you, girl." I bought all the
girl.
I bought all the amiibos that are coming out, so like all the pre-order ones. As soon as I see them and it's Zelda, I'm like, boom, buying
Derek's
it.
gonna be here in a couple of weeks, or not a couple of weeks. When does the game come out?
May
6
12th.
weeks. Yeah.
In 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, Derek's gonna be showing up in Link cosplay, or Zelda, or Zelda.
I could.
I mean, maybe so.
I think it's 6 weeks from yesterday, so it's on the way.
I've already requested May 12th and the 15th off, so I can have a long Zelda weekend. But anyways, I jumped into Breath of the Wild because I obviously love the game. I've talked about it many times, so I'm not going to talk about that. I wanted to jump back in to be like, do I really like this game? Like, I want to see if it's fun or if I was just giving in to the hype and the nostalgia at the time. Because the game is a lot of puzzles, and I don't hold back that I'm not a puzzle guy. So I finished the beginning area that you kind of start out in. And I gotta say, like, yes, there's puzzles. Like, I did like 4 of the.
You just did a new game. You just started from scratch. Okay.
Oh, you started over.
Completely.
I've considered doing that too, because I mean, I was like 70, 80 hours into that game. I didn't even finish it. I had put in that many hours.
Oh, it's got a great conclusion, man. You should finish it.
I just don't know if I want to start over or not, but
Well, the only reason why I would say don't start over is because if you're gonna buy tiers, you're like 6 weeks away. Why not just finish your playthrough now? If you need to do a recap or
I don't know
get
if I'm going to.
with...
That's the thing.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm still in Octopath and everything, but I don't know. We'll see.
I am still playing Octopath, just not as much. But like, I just wanted to see if I would enjoy the game, and I gotta say, the game is just. I don't know. For me, it's super fun. I even like the combat.
You're the only one who likes it. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm the only one.
Yeah.
It's real simple, but like I like how smart you have to be. There's several times because I'm kind of playing it as if I'd never played the game before because I've forgotten so many of the systems. So I've fallen off cliffs and died. One time I beat these hard enemies that are way tougher than I should be fighting because I'm exploring an area I shouldn't be in. And I beat them, and I'm like, hell yeah, I beat them. But I lit them on fire while I'm standing next to them on fire. So I died. So I had to start over and fight them again. Very, very pissed when that happened. I'm like, you serious, man?
I can't believe I died while I was on fire.
Well, most games will be like, you're on fire. Here's a little bit of health. This will like wipe you out. Like as soon as you're lit on fire, you're dead. So there's a lot of systems you have to learn. Also, going back and playing, because again, you got to remember the biggest complaint of this game, definitely, aside from like it's empty, which is stupid.
It's not.
It's not empty. Plus, the whole point of the game is to just be on a journey and explore. So you're not going to have towns and villages every 5 seconds. But also, like, the weapon breaking, not a big deal. And I'm not making an excuse. I'm not making an excuse. The amount of weapons they give you, there's no reason to be upset that, well, my weapon broke so fast. You got 10 in your inventory. Just start using them. Or if you're running low, kill a couple of guys, they drop 19 weapons. Like,
it was only early in the game that I found myself going, oh no, I better not let my weapon break. By the time I got about to the 1/3 midway point of that game, that was never a concern. You just have to keep an eye on your weapons, keep them up to date. But
I think most people that complained about that I personally know,
they
did not get past.
They didn't play very far.
Get past.
Yeah.
Or it's just like hours. So the way I see it is like a little bit of like OCD mixed with like I really like this weapon and I don't want that to break.
And that's how I am.
Sure, yeah.
I am like that. Like the first time I unlocked, and I just got it tonight. Like that, like laser sword or whatever. It's like the blue swords. They're really cool looking, so they look like they're these high-end swords, and I'm like, I don't want to lose this. And they start breaking, but then once you start realizing, oh, they're very common. You just have to fight a certain enemy and they're gonna drop it. So that's why I think it's kind of bull crap in my opinion. I'm glad they're addressing it in the second game, but they're addressing it the Nintendo way, which is we're not doing
add a new function into this.
Yeah, we're not doing it the way you want us to do it. You all asked us to not allow weapons to break like they are, and we show you in the first. And I'll admit, when I was watching that first preview, and he's like, "I have a branch" or whatever. Oh, it broke. I'm like, you motherfuckers.
I laughed out loud when he said, "Oh, it broke." I was like, "You must be so mad right now."
I was like, "Are you trying to get people to not buy your game?" And then he's like, "Let me walk over to the stone." And I'm like, you guys are super
Well, we're
smart.
gonna talk about the Tears of the Kingdom video here shortly. Let me do a quick preview for April.
I was gonna.
No. Oh, you have another one? You have another one? Go ahead.
What? Oh no, I was just gonna do an extremely rapid fire of everything because I want to bring some attention to some things. I'm still playing Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. Can't get enough of it. Still playing it on expert. Now I'm going through every song.
You're on expert.
Different
now?
difficulty.
Dang.
Yeah. So as far as watching goes, Party Down's new season, which was a revival, was excellent. The best the show's ever been. Same for South Park. 20 years in, they're still doing it, nailing it, and the whole season's done.
They're still great. Predicting the future in that show.
Yeah, nailing it. There's
well,
a couple.
You know what's funny that you bring up South Park real quick, and then I'll let you get back to your thing. We just moved in our new house, and my daughter's been over helping unpack, and all I've been listening to all day is South Park playing from my sister's room while my sister and my daughter are just cracking up, and I'm like, my sister is the type that would get offended by all this stuff. Why is she laughing at all of this?
But South Park wins.
That's called growth. Yes, I'm so proud.
It's also called quality comedy. Like it'll make anybody
very quality.
Laugh.
Yeah. But yeah, this new season has just been knocking it out of the park. Like 2 episodes in a row were like just mind-blowingly good for their standards. New shows. The Big Door Prize on Apple TV Plus. I highly recommend that. It's kind of like about a machine that shows up and shows everybody their destiny, so to speak. Like what job are you meant to work, or what path are you meant to take in your life? And the lead character gets an undesirable outcome from it. So it's very interesting. And then The Power on Amazon Prime. It's a new show about like all these like adolescent girls that start getting the power of electricity. And not one of them puts on a cape and tights and goes to fight crime. It's more about like how they decide to use it and like how the world decides to address it. It might be a little too feministy for some people because some of the language they choose to use is like, oh, really? We're going to do that?
I got to tell you, as soon as you said that, I thought it was maybe like the movie Turning Red, where it's all just symbolism for a girl becoming a woman.
There's definitely some of that. And Toni Collette's in it. It's not like a slouch of a show. You're going to recognize a lot of people in the show.
Yeah.
But she does a speech at one point where she compares like, what's going on with women to them discovering their bodies and stuff when they're at a young age. And I'm like, oh my God, you're actually nailing it on the head. Like, I didn't think the show would do that. Like, why are you drilling it into me in such an obvious manner as if I wouldn't understand what the metaphor was? I don't.
Sure.
But
it's like they just took subtlety out and executed it. Yeah.
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 Like every character, it's an ensemble show, and it follows different people at different parts of the world. So like one person is way far away in Ireland or whatever, and she's like starting like building a religion around their powers, and like another one is like a teenager in America who is just kind of tired of being talked down to by everybody, and then there's somebody that's like a part of a mob boss family somewhere else, and she's got her own problems. Like it's totally different stories all over the map. So it is compelling. It's just sometimes you don't need to go that hard. On messaging, we get it. Like,
yeah, we're looking at you, Captain Falcon.
Hey, listen, he's got a lot on his shoulders.
He's got a stern talking to, and that'll solve all of our problems because that has worked 0 times.
By the way, just as a quick side note on that, part of me still wishes he would somehow get super powered, because I'm not looking forward to a full Captain America movie of a normal dude who's just really athletic throwing the shield.
Really good at flying,
Really
and
athletic.
parachuting.
Hey,
Yeah.
he could throw the shield and catch it. I mean, that's
He can,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's gonna be great. But part of me is like, I liked the superpower element of that story.
Me too.
I
of course.
It's basically just a Black Widow with a shield and some wings now.
Black Widow,
That's all it
Hawkeye,
is.
and Captain
Hawkeye.
America are all now just kind of like Batman without all the toys. They have some toys, but not as many.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. I'm sure it's great.
The story that they chose for
whatever,
the fourth movie sounds promising on paper, at least. But
Harrison Ford's gonna be in it, so
Yeah.
There's rumors of a couple X-Men cameoing in the movie.
Oh, I'm sure they'll.
there's going to be rumors about that for the next decade.
There's
probably.
no more borders between universes, Dan. Anyone can show up at any time. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's going to be
No
great
borders.
and not confusing at all.
Yeah, we're all
Listen.
gonna follow it.
Man, you old men, and you're like, I don't understand the universes combining into one universe. Like, this is comic books for the last, like, I don't even know how many decades,
But
guys.
it's just in
Can I
movie
tell you that's
form.
probably why I didn't read that many comic books?
Well,
was
I never read them
this is
either, but-
confusing AF.
I never read them either, but
Oh,
Sorry,
well,
Tim,
shut up.
you were gonna.
Yeah, like why are you defending them?
Yeah, get
because
out
I think it's fucking awesome, dude. I think it's great. Feed me more. Give me more random superhero nonsense all
Hey,
combining.
you're getting it, man.
Oh.
You're getting it. So enjoy
Do
it
it.
while
Feed
it's
me.
here, because it's here
Feed
now,
me.
and
Secret Invasion's around the corner.
next few years, it sounds like you're going to be getting
Invade-
all the confusing storytelling you're going to want. It's going to be
They can secretly
You
invade
like
my
anime,
body.
so your opinion
Sure.
does not matter.
Oh, it absolutely matters. You're just
All
not
right.
a classy individual.
Speaking
middle
of
class.
confusion,
the
Middle
month of
class.
April has a couple of big games coming out. Don't know if you guys knew that, but we'll go through
Nope.
this. I want you guys to tell me you're excited about a game or not. So just kind of as I read through some of these, flag it as yes, I'm going to be buying this day one. All right, so I won't be buying Meet Your Maker on April 4th, but it is going to be on PS Plus, so I will try it probably. I'll download it, give it a whirl. It's free, so why not? The idea there is you build a fortress. It kind of looks like a futuristic. It looks a little bit like you're a robot from Stray. It kind of has that futuristic robot-y vibe to it, but it looks like you're a robot at least, and you're building up this fort with all these traps and obstacles, and then other players can come try to invade it, and they get a reward if they complete the fort that you built. It doesn't look like it's actively PvP. It looks more like passive PvP, where you're trying to get through forts other players have built. I think that's what it is, if I read the description right. So I'm going to try it out, see if it's any good. Other people make amazing stuff. That's one of the reasons why I loved Mario Maker, was playing other people's really creative stuff. So I'll give that one a whirl. The sequel to Road 96 called Mile Zero, I think it's a sequel. Maybe it's
I think it's a prequel. Yeah,
but that's coming out on April 4th as well.
It's like a Telltale type game with multiple. It's an ensemble.
Yeah, I
story.
remember Road 96. I just never
It's
got
good.
it.
I never finished it, but it's good.
2 days later, there's a couple games coming out that I thought looked interesting. Curse of the Sea Rats has really cool art style.
Yeah,
And that hits on
yeah.
April 6th.
I'll probably get that depending on the price, I guess.
That's another Metroidvania side scroller, like Dan said. There's a lot of those. So this is another one of those. But this has a cool art style to it. Kind of like I loved Tales of Iron from a couple years ago. I thought that game was super cool.
I recall that one, yeah.
This doesn't look exactly like that, but it has similar storybook, kind of Secret of Nim vibes is what I get when I look at Curse of the Sea Rats. Let's see, Everspace 2. I never played Everspace, but I think Everspace 2's been in early access for a while, and official release is April 6th. Paparazzi. Derek, make sure you grab that one for the Switch.
oh yeah,
on
Did
already
you say
got it
paparazzi or paparazzi?
Paparazzi. What's where it's puppies taking
Paparazzi.
pictures.
So you're stalking famous dogs? Is that?
I don't know.
You
I think you're
are
a puppy.
you are a dog.
I think you're a
Oh,
puppy.
and you're stalking other dogs.
No, Derek, you're a dog.
Well done, guys. That was a great back and forth.
It's already.
This is why we
got
get
a
paid the big
review.
bucks. This is why we have an exclusive deal.
0.25.
It's
EA
Spotify.
Sports PGA Tour comes out on April 7th. Which, by the way, I heard John Cena is making an appearance in that game. Which is
John
funny.
Cena.
That he's going to
Well,
be.
I mean,
in-
he might be, but you wouldn't be able to tell.
Oh yeah, you can't see him.
Yeah. So.
April Fool.
I get it. Sherlock Holmes: The Awakened and Tron Identity both hit on April 11th. So far there's been nothing that I'm going to be grabbing.
Same here. Like I'm like a maybe on everything so far, just like but dependent on price and reviews. And Sherlock Holmes, I'm too dumb for those games.
Guys, I have something to share with you. I identify as a Tron. Just so
It's making
That
your
was-
neon
that was-
choice, your neon color choices are making a lot more sense now.
I'm getting it now. Yeah. Ghostwire Tokyo is finally going to be no longer exclusive to the PlayStation 5. It's going to hit Xbox Series X.
And
God
how
damn
does
it.
Jimmy feel about that?
God
does
damn
Jimmy
it.
feel about
He's
that
not even showing
Like
up.
this is why we're losing.
He's
Well,
not
it's
even
funny
showing
'cause
up right now.
It's a studio that Xbox has owned for a little bit now, and so
Yeah.
they're finally bringing that game over.
Yeah.
Mega Man
I
Battle
think that game
Network.
was always coming over. By the way,
I
It was
agree.
eventually.
It
I
just
agree
took
with you.
some time, yeah.
Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection hits Switch, PS4, and PC on April 14th. Some good nostalgia there, I guess. Now, the 18th probably has two games that I am now in like the mildly interested. I'll give them both a look. Let's see what reviews say. The
Mhm.
first one is the next League of Legends game called The Mage Seeker. We
Yep.
talked about this in our chat a little bit ago, but
Oh, yeah, I think I remember.
really cool looking game. And I mean, ever since Arcane, that show came out, I'm gonna give all League of Legends stuff a look at least. Not the game itself, but like all their spin-off stuff. Like I kind
agree.
of want to see their spin-off
Yeah,
content.
I'm with you. This one looks like a Metroidvania almost, like a little more pixelated and more action oriented.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing traversal on the maps, so I don't know if it is
Yeah.
100% Metroidvania, but it's definitely got a side-scrolling element to it.
Yeah, it's listed as action.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it looks like it's got some elements of unlocking stuff. It's hard to say for sure till we actually play it, but I do like the art style to it. And then that same day on April 18th is Minecraft Legends. It's going to be hitting
Yes.
all consoles. So I'll be giving that one a look. My son is so
being-
excited for this game.
That's Game Pass, I think.
I'm actually
It's
gonna
Game Pass, yeah.
only probably check out. Well, I'll look at the Mage Seeker, but I'm actually more interested in Disney Speedstorm. Just curious to see if that will actually be any good.
Yeah,
Which
I don't
comes
think that
out
one's
April
listed
18th.
here, but yeah, that comes on the 18th as like I think it's like early access technically for
Oh,
that.
okay.
But so you
So
have to
that's
like
not
buy.
the free version. Oh, okay.
It's not. The free version will launch later. This is where you have to actually buy like one of their packs of content essentially.
Then that's a no.
Oh, so they can take it offline for 6 months.
Oh my gosh, multiverses. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
All right,
goodness.
let's see here. Stray Blade, which I played the demo for. I think I told you guys about it. I don't know if you remember. It's super fast-paced character action game. No idea if it's going to be very good. I just thought it was stylish at least, but that hits on April 20th.
By the way,
It's a swimming in
ahead.
sevens AA kind of a game looking thing. So
the 19th is when the Burning Shores hits.
that's right, Burning Shores DLC.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope, dude.
April 19th. Yep. April 21st, we kind of have our double dose of first big games of the month, and that's Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, almost a full year after they originally planned on releasing it.
Jeez.
And then that's come to Switch, of course, and then Dead Island 2 hits everything but the Switch
Oh, yeah.
on April 20th.
That's day one for me. I'm gonna buy that on PC probably.
So
I'm kind of the same boat as Tim on that one, where because I think we talked about it in chat already, where we're both kind of like, I'll wait on that one. and
I'm
see,
more
you know.
interested than I was before.
I
after
know
the game
exactly.
too.
I know exactly what it is. It's gonna be a clown, terrible story with fun combat that's
Sure.
over the top. That's
Yeah.
all I care about. It's gonna be
I
fun.
hope the combat's fun. That's the thing. Like if the combat,
It'll
like
be
that
fun.
that slice that they showed was very impressive and looked like a
Dead
blast.
Island was
So.
fun. It was.
It was.
You just
Yeah.
have to get over the top like terrible characters, voice acting.
Cheese can be done well, you know?
Cheese
Yeah.
can be done well. That's true. That's very true. So we'll see with that one. Let's see. The next week we've got Strayed Lights on April 25th.
Yes,
That's a pretty big
buying
one.
that day
Jeff
one.
and I talked about that. The demo was pretty cool from last week. Nothing
That one does
else
look
that
cool.
day. Yeah, that one looks great. The 27th is the last case of Benedict Fox, which will be on Game Pass if you want to try that one out.
I'm trying that for sure.
Another Metroid-looking game, but that one looks fun.
Yeah,
At least
cool
it's a Metro-
art style, and you gotta. It's like you're talking with a demon that's like in your head or something like that the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it's a Cylon. Huh? Anybody?
Yeah.
Oh,
Battlestar? Okay.
I totally get the reference. I totally see that.
Nerd.
Live Alive is gonna hit PC, PS4, and PS5 on April 27th as well.
Nice.
I'm
I
sorry,
think I'll-
Live Alive, whatever.
I don't even know, man.
I think
Leave
I'm
it
Live alive.
Yeah.
Leave it alone and play Octopath. That's what they should call it.
I think
Play
I'm gonna buy
Octopath.
this.
Live alive, live alive.
I
not gonna work here anymore. Anyway,
I literally like remember I played it and I did enjoy it, but like now like playing Octopath Traveler 2, it's like for me like this style of HD 2D thing, like that's the definitive is the best version of any of it. So
yeah,
you know.
I agree. Shout out to the Office Space reference, by the way.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that one. Dude, that's one of my favorite jokes.
I try to do that all the time if I can. And sometimes it makes sense.
Not gonna work here anymore anyway.
I picked up on it too. That's one of my favorite movies.
Oh,
it's one of the best movies.
Michael Bolton, why should I change my name? He's the one who sucks. I love that line. It's so good.
I still, every once in a while, I'll throw in just to see who my real friends are at a workplace or a gathering of any kind. I'll just throw in, well, I celebrate the man's entire catalog. Like anytime I can fit that kind of phrasing in there, just to see who's with me. And every once in a while, someone will be like,
"Oh,
is
man,
that from Office Space?"
It's like you're my friend.
I'll do a threesome.
Well, on the on the 27th, it's not in Wikipedia or anything, but I played a demo for Bramble the Mountain King, which I already talked about on here. It's like you play a little person, and it's like a Nordic fairy tale.
Is that the one that witch is chasing you out of the pond or whatever?
Yeah.
Dude, I saw some video someone put up with
scary.
that. I was like, that looks horrifying, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
it's great though. So far, at least, I played the half-hour whatever it is demo.
Okay.
But yeah, that comes out the 27th.
He like rises out of the water as you're on these little lily pads.
Oh my
and starts,
gosh.
like crawling after you through the mud.
That's the sprinting segment where you have to run. Like
those old folk tales are terrifying, you know. So it seems like
the further west you get, like the and like the German Scandinavian countries, they get some messed up fairy tales, dude.
Pretty messed up. Sure. I agree. Well, then the last game that I wanted to highlight, and you guys call it any others that I missed for April, is Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which is one of two games that I have already paid for. Like none of the other games this month that are coming out am I like 100% day one buying, other than Advance Wars 1 and 2 already have that purchased, and Star Wars Jedi Survivor have that one purchased. I don't have any others pre-order.
I think the only two that I'm for sure getting is Dead Island 2 and Star Wars. And then there's a ton of maybes on here. Yeah, a ton of maybes that I'm intrigued by.
I have
Burning Shores, but that's DLC.
Yeah, Burning Shores I already bought. I already bought that one for sure. A bunch of maybes. So Strayed Light, Last Case, Benedict Fox, Bramble, and Star Wars Jedi. I am for sure getting all of those. Whether there's no way I'm going to beat all those, but Jedi Survivor is probably going to be the priority whenever that comes out. Yeah. And Burning Shores will be priority too. Like I definitely want to beat that for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting. Jedi Survivor only has a couple of days until Redfall hits, and then about 10 more days after that till Tears of the Kingdom hits. So
and Redfall's obviously Zelda's a big game for me, but Redfall is the one that I've been following probably the most, and so there's a lot of excitement there. So I hate that it's getting squished in between all these great games, because I feel like one, either Redfall or Zelda is going to be impacted by that in my life. And while it might be like the obvious might be like, it'll be Redfall. That's not normally how I am. Usually it's the obvious one that's the one that gets impacted the most. So we'll see.
Yeah, like you with Octopath 2 and Wolong. Like Octopath 2 was like became your life because
that's right.
You knew
I booted up Wolong this week because apparently they made the first boss easier. Again, I didn't even fight him. That's how little I played this game. I finally fought him, and he still beat me, and I was like, he's
still pretty
so
tough.
Bad.
But
yeah, he still beat me, so it wasn't like, oh, I can't beat this. I was just like, I literally said it again. I was like, I do not want to play this game. I don't have any desire for this. I don't know if I'm over Souls stuff right now. I just don't want to play this game. So
I get it. I mean, that's the reason I jumped into Mafia 2. Like I still have not talked myself into jumping into either Dead Space or Resident Evil 4, even though they're both installed. Like I'm just not phone
background is still Wolong. That's like how excited I was for that game. I had Wolong like on everything. Like my avatar or whatever for not avatar.
Guys seen Avatar?
Like, my PC pick, like my profile pick, is Wolong. I changed everything to Wolong.
Profile.
And then the game comes out, and I'm like,
he officially legally changed his name to Wolong Teague. and
Derek Long teeth.
He was longing for the woe, and he is no longer.
That's why they called it that, because Derek was telling himself, "Whoa, I'm not gonna play that for a long time."
I've gotten hyped for games too, but then when they come out, whether it's reviews or just whatever else I'm playing, I don't end up getting to it for a while. And like Forspoken is a good example of that. That's when, because of reviews and because of other stuff I was playing, I was just like, this one's just gonna wait, even though I was very excited for it, building up to it, thinking this might be a new game I'm gonna love, and then I just kind of set it aside.
I mean, this year is a very picky and choosy year.
Never play it.
Yeah,
no, I'll probably never play it. Yeah. Dan, what about you? What anything coming out in April that you're like you've got your eye on, or is it kind of like an okay month of interesting stuff?
I mean, I definitely will play the Star Wars game, and Dead Island, unless that's like a friggin' like 4 out of 10 type of game or something.
Okay.
But like I have like so all right, so I streamed Resident Evil 4 this past week, or this week actually. Just like it was just kind of like I'm just kind of moving away from 7, and then next week I'll go back to 7. So then I'm gonna finish that tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But I went back to Octopath on Friday because I didn't want to. Oh no, maybe it was. I don't remember what day it was. So, but I went right back to it, and I didn't have that feeling I did with the first one, where like at some point I went back into it. I was like, I don't really actually want to continue this anymore. I jumped right back into Octopath 2, and I was like, yeah, I'm like super enjoying this. Like it's one of my, honestly, it's one of my favorite RPGs in like the last decade.
Yes.
Like I just
think it's
freaking
really
love
good.
it. I freaking love it. I think
I
the characters
technically
are great.
beat it, Dan, because I beat the main
you
character. So
100%
technically
did.
didn't.
Yeah, you
I
literally
technically
did
beat
not
it.
beat the game.
I beat 1/8 of the game, Dan.
You know, there's actually like
Well, I mean,
there's 8 different the end screens, and you've seen one of them.
Well, here's the thing too. It could all come to a point where like there's actually the ultimate big bad, and that's actually beating the game, right? Is killing the big bad.
No, there is no ultimate.
Did the
big
credits
bad.
roll for you, Derek? After the
Yes.
Yeah, the credits rolled for me when on Octopath 1 they rolled, and you couldn't skip them either. By the way, I don't know if they changed that for the second one, but a lot of credits for the first game after beating with the first character, and I've beaten 4 more, so I have 5 bosses down. I got 3 left, but it's kind of that might be as far as I get for a while. I don't know, because I haven't played it now in about a week and a half.
I think this is a game though, and I'm talking about both of them, obviously, but it's a franchise where you can easily walk away from these games, take a break from them, and come back to them, because yes, you know, when you're fighting a boss, you probably need to, you know, get reacquainted to his weaknesses and stuff, but the gameplay is gonna come pretty natural. Like, it's not something where you're like, what button do I push to hit? Like, it's not that hard to come back to. And I think for me, I'm still playing it, but I'm only playing it to grind. Like, I'm not even trying to fight bosses right now, because I think the reason I was losing any enjoyment is I was trying to beat the game before
Resident Evil.
I think it was before something else. There was something else coming out, and I thought I was going to beat it. Maybe it was Resident Evil, but I thought I was going to beat it that week before. And so I started fighting those bosses after Throne, and I was losing, and I was like, I'm not going to beat it in a week. This is retarded. I'm at the end. I have all these high-level characters. I should be able to beat it. And that kind of sucked out the enjoyment. Now I'm just like, dude, just boot it up on your Steam Deck. Keep grinding, and then when you feel like you have got everybody, like right now I'm working on I forgot his name, but Money Boy, Particio or whatever.
Particio, yeah.
I'm focusing
Money
on leveling
Boy.
him up.
Money Boy.
Because he was like my lowest level. Now I've got him above 30, and I'm going to keep getting him until he's in his 50s. So I'll just keep grinding him, and then eventually at some point I will just beat all the other bosses. But it's not a rush to me, especially with all these other games. But I do agree. It's Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is still superior in every way for me personally, but this is still a really, really, really good RPG.
So, Dan, you're saying you're so engrossed by the Octopath 2 that you're like, there's nothing here that sounds like it could take my attention away if I'm still playing.
Yeah,
like
that. I'm determined to finish it, because I'm like, for again, I think Derek had said like the dancer is like the least interesting, but there is like after the second chapter, there's like a character that's like, oh well, says a thing, and it's like, oh okay, well looks like that character is gonna maybe do some nonsense. So like I'm actually now interested in that. So, but I'm intrigued by all of the storylines, like all of them, like keep having that little like the kind of that little, you know, whatever trail
I feel like Throne has a good payoff.
Okay.
I even though I didn't beat Hikari's last boss, so I haven't seen the last cutscene.
Yeah.
But the build up to like his ending, I don't feel like it was as good. So some of these other characters, I don't feel like their endings are paying off as well.
Sure.
But overall, I still think some of the reveals and some of the character stories, like from beginning, middle to end, are really good. They're really well done.
And I just like the interaction. Like even just like I just did chapter I think 3 for Hikari, where he goes out into the woods for a certain thing. Like even that interaction there, like what was going on in the woods there was like interesting, but that was just kind of like in the middle of his whole story, and like nothing like super. I mean, some things happen in the where you're like, oh, okay, well, there's like this sort of thing going on with Hikari that they keep like slowly like revealing a little bit more and more, something to do with this like the family lineage and some kind of darkness going on there, but yeah, it's just I'm determined to finish this one, whereas obviously with that first one, for some reason something just didn't kind of grab me to keep going. And that's not the case with this one. I definitely am determined to finish that. And I'm gonna finish Resident Evil tonight. But then I also want to get to that Chained Echoes game that I like backed.
Yeah. I still have it installed. I just I need to
get it.
It reviewed really well, and there were like websites being like, this is actually like one of like the sleeper hits of the year, like as far as like RPGs goes. So like I want to get to
all
that.
the Chrono Trigger comparisons. It's like, how have I not played this yet?
It's supposed to be like a modern day like classic. Like it's supposed to be so good that when you experience it, that you go, this is one of the best ever compared to like the greats like Corona and all that stuff.
And that's what I was getting when I first saw that. I was like, all right, you know what? I've never backed anything. I'm going to do with this one because something about it is just sticking out to me that makes it different. So I want to get to that and then actually be able to speak to it, because like none of us, did get around to actually playing it. So
I only played like an hour.
Yeah. So
all right, guys, I'm gonna go through some of the best games so far. We're through Q1 of 2023. It's going by quickly already, but Q1 is now behind us. I'm gonna list off a game, and between the three of you, I'm not voting in this particular exercise. You're gonna say contender or pretender, and we're gonna see which games are contenders for Game of the Year debates. And like this is like in your mind, hey, this has a chance of being. This is something that I think I might want to fight for. That's all it is. It's not about the Metacritic score. It's just about what you think.
For top 10 or actual Game of the Year?
No, let's say for your top 10 and one that you might make. As of right now, you think I might try to make a case for this at the end of the year. All right. Wanted Dead.
No.
Pretender. Okay.
Be pretending.
Forspoken.
I mean, I really like it, but it's not a contender. It's a pretender.
Abstain. I didn't play it.
I abstain.
All right,
I mean, actually, I did play the first 2 chapters, but I didn't get to the open part.
No, you didn't get to the fun part. No.
Yeah.
All right.
So
What about
I technically did play it.
What about Atomic Heart?
Pretender.
That's definitely a pretender.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's a horny.
What, do you remember the Pretenders or something? I don't know why I said that. I don't know why.
That's probably part of the. It's probably part of the dialogue in the game.
What about
game's
Wild
a horny
Hearts?
Pretender.
Wild Hearts from EA. Wild Hearts.
I didn't play it.
That's a contender for me. I really like that one.
What do you guys think, Jeff? Dan?
Oh, I didn't play it.
Yeah, I didn't even play it.
So
If you like Monster Hunter games, it's really good.
Where's my next one here? Let's see. I don't think anyone played One Piece Odyssey, right?
No.
No,
I did.
But that game like looked really.
It reviewed pretty well.
Yeah.
So
It's a swimming in sevens.
yeah. Chia. I'm gonna say Pretender.
Still haven't played it, even though it was my most anticipated Sony release.
Yeah, I know it was. What about Like a Dragon Ishin? Let's pretend Kyle's here.
For Kyle, yes, contender for sure.
I would say that's probably a contender. Yeah.
I'm still
For me, it's a pretender.
I haven't finished the first chapter even yet, so I can't really speak to it, but I do have it.
What about Wolong Fallen Dynasty?
It's a pretender for me right now, but
you'd be the only one probably, right? I mean, maybe Dan if he gets into it, because Dan liked Sekiro, so maybe.
I liked, I liked the beta, but but I don't know if it's. Yeah, I don't
course
even
you
know if
would
I'm
like
really.
the
I don't
beta.
think Jeff or I are going to get on that train. I don't think it's not going to be
a of you to twist the word beta into.
He had to just squeeze it in there.
When it's not good or whatever. I don't know. Whatever.
beta.
It's when it fits the narrative, basically.
Sure.
What
You're a
about
beta.
Kirby's
Sure.
Return to Dreamland Deluxe?
Did not
No.
play enough of it. Pretender. I'll say Pretender just because it's a good version of a game of Kirby games we've
Of an
already
ol-
got.
of
That
an older
existed
game.
before.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair enough. Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon.
Pretender.
Pretender.
I'd like it. What I
Did
played
you
at
buy
the demo-
it or? Oh, I was gonna say.
Nah,
did you
just the
buy it?
demo.
No, the demo was like 2 hours or something.
It was
But-
it was
but,
plenty
like,
of the demo to get an idea of the game. Yeah.
Exactly. If the demo gives you a really strong idea of what the game is, but I like it. But no, it's not going to be in like top 10 ever.
What about Fire
Not
Emblem
even if there's a
Engage?
fire. Sorry, go ahead.
That's
Hey,
a
fire.
contender.
Hey, speaking of fire,
Fire Emblem Engage.
It's a contender.
I did not engage with that game.
Nice one.
I don't recall where I left off on that game. I can't say one way or another
Okay.
safely. So
Okay.
I think Kyle would say contender too.
For sure he would. Yep. Here's one I played a demo for, and I thought it was fine, but it didn't really do much. But it's reviewing really well, and that's Dredge. Did anyone play Dredge yet?
no.
Oh,
I played the
Dredge?
demo for it. It's a really cool little like exploration fishing game. I do recommend you taking a look. The art style's cool. I played the demo one of the next fests that Steam did, and it's a creative little game. It just came out, but the reviews are great. So I might
Okay.
give it another look because I thought
No,
the
this
demo
looks,
was I thought the demo was fine. It just didn't do much for me. But
Yeah, this
apparently
looks
the full
interesting.
game- Yeah, apparently the full game is really great.
It's like Wind Waker. but
Love the art
official.
style.
Yeah, the art style is really cool. WWE 2K23.
By the end of the year, probably Pretender, but for now, I guess Contender.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, after Q1, it's a contender for you, right?
Yes, yeah, for sure.
And then Derek and Dan and myself, we probably wouldn't even have a thought on that one because we didn't play it.
True.
Octopath Traveler 2.
Contender for sure.
Yeah, that's a contender. Yeah.
It's all right.
Dan's trying not to oversell it.
It's a contender.
You know, the high voice.
Absolutely a contender.
Pretty,
For sure.
pretty.
Did any of you play Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure?
No. But
It
I've
is a
heard
part-
good things.
I've
It's
heard
like
good things.
part 2 of a literally.
So there's like
consecutive-
a 2-part story arc that were released in Japan like 10 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Trails
not
from
gonna
Zero
play it.
was last year, and then Trails to Azure was this year. So
Yeah. And then there's
it's
another
cool that they brought it
Trails.
over here. By the way, I think that's neat.
Very neat. Yeah.
A
And the game
space-
looks fun. It's just narratively, I know I'd be lost. So
Yeah, same here. I have to play the first one, which also reviewed well. A Space for the Unbound.
no, Pretender of the biggest.
I didn't have space in my life to
Biggest-
play it.
Uh,
I have no idea
Whatever.
what you're talking about.
I talked about it
Uh,
before. It's very indie in a sense that where I get why people make fun of indie games. Like it's like,
Yeah.
come on,
Mm.
come on, guys. Like,
It's too indie for its own indie good.
too indie for its own good.
Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh, you know,
Contender.
So I'm gonna do what
contender.
Dan did with Octopath.
That
Hey,
game's
you
kind of
contender.
that game's
I'd
kind of
be
full of
contender.
hate. So it's got a
Oh
lot of hate.
yeah. Oh my
Final
gosh.
Fantasy 16. It's okay. It's okay. I'm kind of excited for it.
Kind of belongs in the toilet. It's kind of belongs in the toilet. So.
It might be. I might make a.
Which,
several
speaking of which,
heated
hold on.
arguments
Speaking of
for it.
which, it's what, like 3 months out, 2 months out. That game's gone gold already. So I mean,
What's up?
Final Fantasy.
That's
16,
pretty
yeah.
good.
That
That's
bad
pretty
boy's
great.
hit its release date. Can you believe it?
Yeah, pretty great. Pretty great.
I
Yeah,
always
Hogwarts Legacy. I
believed
think I
it
heard
was going
contender.
to.
I'd be
Very.
surprised. if it's not.
Very much contender.
All right. Let's see here. Man, there's so many re-releases that I have to skip through here, like Returnal and stuff like that. Persona 4 Golden, Monster. Oh, Dead Space remake.
That's a contender.
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Okay.
It's really
Yeah,
good.
they did a good job.
Just
with that.
not as
Haven't
good
played
as Resident Evil 4, in my opinion. But
Theatrhythm Barline.
That's a contender for me at this point.
I mean, I love Final Fantasy music, but yeah. Again, I
I
played the
don't care
demo
about
and it
that
just
crap.
wasn't clicking with me. But I mean, obviously, I love.
I
the
thought
music
you were
series.
like into that. Oh.
No, I think
I just don't like the
Jeff
gameplay of it.
and Kyle love it. I liked it a lot, and Dan thought it was fine. It just didn't click with him, which I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, contender.
No.
Played a
Anytime.
couple hours of that. It is fun. I just
No.
haven't gotten too far.
Absolutely.
Maybe no. What?
This is gonna be the neon white. Shut up, Derek.
It's gonna be me and
Exactly.
Jeff championing that game to like
And
at
I
least
will
squeeze into the
Fight
top
to
10.
the death. That is a shit ass game.
That might
See,
have
now
been
you have me cussing.
Hey,
No,
Jeff,
go
that's
ahead.
likely to
Please
be-
explain.
That's
Please
likely to be
explain.
an on-man if we're being honest. But I'd love for it to make our shared top 10. That game's awesome. It's
Yeah.
sitting towards the top of my list already.
You know what?
Oh,
I'm
me
gonna make
too.
sure I finish the game just out of spite, so it could be on some list.
Yes.
of this.
Now, Derek tried to
wow.
come in with a hate response on that game, but he was like, it's actually pretty fun. I just don't really feel like playing that kind of game right now, but it's actually pretty I remember him saying that. He was like, I have a hardcore opinion on this, and then got to the show and was like, it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's all right.
Super hardcore.
All right. Resident Evil 4.
Eh.
Oh, it's definitely a contender.
I mean, it's okay.
It's the Spanish people in it, and they yell at you, and you shoot them in the
Feels a little
face.
racist that you have to kill them all.
Chicken al pastor.
Oh my
Chicken al
god.
pastor. Dude, when they're all like
Chipotle.
chanting stuff from around the corner, I'm like, what are you guys saying? Like they're just like chanting.
That's a garage.
Last one, Metroid Prime Remastered.
I have not played enough, but I would like to play more.
I've only played the first level, and that level kind of blew my mind. So it would have to be a contender based on that alone.
Yeah. And we can get into conversations later in the year about what actually qualifies, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space are clear remakes. Metroid Prime Remastered, in a way, feels like one, but it's not
They
definite.
remade some elements, but also didn't. So
Yeah.
it's really
we can
Like the actual
but
story is the same,
also-
right?
it's like a
that's
bit of
intact.
both.
Yeah, but I feel like that game, like if you go play the original and then play the remastered,
It's
you're
like a
playing
different
two
game.
different games. You're
But I'm
playing
saying
two
the
different
story
games.
is intact, though, right? They didn't tweak anything with that.
no,
or...
no,
Yeah.
no.
that would be one case to make. Like, do they have to change the story for it to be?
I don't feel
maybe?
like they have to do that.
I don't know that they changed the story for other remakes. Not counting Final Fantasy VII, Dan, of
Sure.
course. But like for the most
Most
part,
of
the
them
main story
don't.
beats in Resident Evil 4 are pretty
It's
much
the same. They
Like,
just
Yeah.
there's some changes.
Mafia Remake 2, even though they did ground up, completely
Yeah.
remade it from scratch with the new engine, story's identical.
I'm pretty sure Demon Souls was identical. It was just rebuilt, but it was the same like kind of lore in that game.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But so we'll have to talk about that as we get closer to end of the year when that stuff matters. But it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of good remakes. We know that
We need
regardless
to
of whether or not they
establish the
qualify,
rules now.
regardless of whether or not they qualify,
now.
like there's some excellent remakes this year and remasters even. So I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to the Suikoden 1 and 2, of course, Advance Wars 1 and 2, and then who knows what else is down the line. I think there's going to be other remakes we'll see this year too.
Really,
I really think
create-
what we should do is create a remake / remastered category.
We have that.
Even if it's just like top 5.
Yeah.
We have that.
We just
Well,
have
then
always
I
picked our own.
suggested it. I suggested
We've
it.
just always picked. I don't think we've ever ranked.
No, I'm saying like a group one where we come together
Yeah,
and go,
we could do
hey,
that.
here's 10 remake remasters. We got to lower it to top 5.
Yeah, no, that's a
you
good
know,
idea.
much like the actual remasters and remakes themselves, that idea is a great use of wasted resources. So, you know,
The whole resources.
I think that's what we retitled it to, right? Officially.
Waste of Resources Award.
Yeah, exactly. I would say based on the beta that Diablo 4 is a contender as well. I'm just throwing that out there.
Oh yeah, because technically we've gotten a glimpse into what that game
Several
is. That's
hours.
true.
Well,
Yeah,
you've got more than a glimpse. Like people were playing a lot of hours in that game.
Yeah.
yeah, it's true.
And if it's anything like that, well, I mean, it's obviously going to be like that.
It's gonna be
but
like
they're going to add so much more stuff to it.
After like
Yeah.
15 hours, it turns into a ping pong game. You just, like,
Surprise, Mitch!
Everything's just stick figures. Like,
It's just all horrible animations.
Oh man.
we got
Listen,
guys to buy it.
as we head into our headlines here, that brings up this Multiversus thing. It's funny to me that Multiversus could be eligible for the 2024 Game of the Year because that's when it's going to release. Because the
Sweet.
Multiversus open beta, which no one knew it was that because they didn't say that, is going offline in June ahead of their full launch in 2024. Now, if they did say that, it certainly wasn't clear because people are
Sure.
mad. So
It was,
People
probably,
learn.
in the writing.
They
Maybe.
said it was early.
Early
when I look
access?
Back on it, they said
Yeah,
they called it
yeah.
early access. But the thing is, with almost all other games that have a big
they
developer,
stay
big
live until
publisher,
1.0.
They stay live and they go, "Hey, here's version 1," and that's it.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
that's the end
yeah,
of it.
yeah.
There's no let's shut it down for X amount of months.
Right.
That's so insanely dumb, especially with a game that functions as like a service game
And people have
where
spent
they're
money
counting
on
on people spending money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ouch.
so dumb.
That's a rough one.
They
I mean,
deserve
could
every
you-
lawsuit they get. I'm just saying.
I could imagine like I don't know, just almost like them not coming back and everybody just having spent the money on XYZ thing, like
Star style, like basically just being like, no, we're still building it, guys.
They already made their budget back. They're like, we're done, we're good.
Already, yeah.
So what type of game is this? I don't even know what
Smash
it is.
Brothers. It's like a Smash Brothers game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it has a crazy, wacky roster. Crazy.
Yeah, I saw that. Is it pretty popular? Did it do well?
It was doing well.
People liked it. Yeah.
Really well. Yeah.
People had it nominated for their Game of the Year last year.
Okay.
I think it won at the Game Awards didn't it win for one of the multiplayer or fighting or something?
Something. Family game. It won one of those things.
Yeah, I played it. It's a game,
and it reviewed well too. Like
I'm with you, Dan.
Got like 8s and stuff.
It's not Smash Brothers. Like I'm sorry,
but you know what? Even when it comes to Smash Brothers knockoffs, like I think the next best to Smash Brothers is going to be Brawlhalla. Like that game is hugely popular and actually plays really well. And
are you saying it's not Smash Bros because it doesn't play as well?
It's pretty close.
So to me, I'm saying it's not as good in the sense of the roster. Like I think because Smash Brothers to me is like a celebration of video games. You have like this like awesome hodgepodge of characters where it's like they're just specifically WB and their properties. So it's like unless you're super like huge WB fan, like
imagine
it's like. You know, like
unless you were the Animaniacs yourself living in the WB water tower.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Then you just don't care,
I mean,
right?
The Animaniacs are pretty awesome.
They're
pretty
awesome.
Well, they are.
I still love them.
Yeah.
Well,
you're right. It's very random roster.
Man, I had a thought about Multiversus and I can't remember what it was now. Oh yeah, so the thing with Smash Brothers that differentiates it from Multiversus. Multiversus hands you like 5 or 6 heroes to start, and you kind of have to do the same fights over and over again to unlock more heroes with the same characters. So like they kind of rip you off a little bit at the beginning.
Because that's unlock characters in
or
Smash.
You can just buy your characters. You can buy characters, you know.
You have to unlock in Smash Brothers too,
in Smash you have to unlock them too.
Yeah, but you start with a big
doing it way faster though in Smash Brothers. It was way more gratifying in Smash.
But again, it's just what they have available in Ultimate is like just way more interesting to me.
Personally, in fighting games, one of my favorite things is to play through like a story mode or whatever and unlock characters.
Yeah.
I like being rewarded with characters. That's why I love Mortal Kombat. They always have like unlockable characters in their story modes.
Yeah.
But if the roster starts out at like 5 or 6, that's stupid. It should still be like
it's not that
15
small,
to
but
20.
Like,
it should still be pretty high number, and then you unlock like 4 or 5.
Yeah. And it shouldn't take forever to do.
If you want to play it, you got 2 more months before it goes offline.
So dumb.
Till it launches next year. So wow.
Wait a minute. So I'm going to stand corrected. They called it early access when it first came out, and then they called it season 1 for some characters. Like
they have multiple.
And then season 2, like
the implication for users was that this game is here to stay. We're going to improve it.
Yeah.
Building up to the official launch. So the implication never felt to anyone that I could read anywhere that like they're going to take it offline for a while. Like that never seemed to be the case.
I didn't get that sense either. I don't understand.
So
it's very odd. It's very odd.
That is very odd. Not as odd as E3 being canceled because no one's showing up to their party.
That is so wild.
So E3 is officially canceled, and there's no mention of whether or not it's like just for this year. Like it's just like it's not happening.
Done deal, man.
Keely's got us, guys. He's got his Game Fest. Like
doesn't he do something? So we don't even.
Ubisoft already announced they're going to have a presentation during that week. Microsoft's going to have a presentation. Like that week is still going to
feel it. Yeah.
It just won't be like an event.
It only impacts. I was going to say it only impacts people that actually traveled there and liked going to the event. Other than that, for people like us, that hype week where we just watch online, you're still going to get all the showcases we care about, and that's all I care about.
I'm wondering what kind of fees have to be involved for even like mega $1 million corporations like Tencent or Sega to be like, nah, we're good. Yeah. Like, what kind of fees are you asking for your showroom floor and stuff like that? Like, I don't.
Good question.
Is that what it was? Or was it?
That's what
I don't even think it's that. I think it's
those were the 3 that backed out. Ubisoft, Sega, Tencent. When they said we're not going, within hours, E3 was canceled because they were
why would you though? Why would you travel, set up? You have to hire all these people to travel, set up your stage, do all this speaking, all this stuff. When you can just put a video together that costs a fraction of what would cost to travel, set up, break down, all that stuff that they do for that
It's
week.
just it's a bummer though because
is.
it's like there has
strictly a business decision,
no, it makes
like,
sense. It's just
save money.
It's a
there's
thing.
been those shows that we've seen. Like the one I always think to because it was the more recent one that was so epic was the one that with God of War 2018 God of War. Like
I think that was the 2016 E3.
Yeah,
I think they announced Final Fantasy VII remake there too.
Yes.
No, that was
when
that was
Sony knocked out like.
Oh, that was a different
Sony had like one show where they announced like 5 or 6 like.
Well, that one was
the one
coming
out for a long time.
It was 7. It was.
Oh no, it was God of War open and then Last of Us Part 2 closed. That's right. That's what it was.
Is that
I remember that.
But that one was like on a stage that looked like a theater, like it looked really fancy. They had the orchestra there, like
and they can still do that, but they'll just do it on their own property, on their own time,
sure,
their own venues. You know,
they're not gonna do that. They'll be like, nope.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I mean,
that costs money, so
I feel like COVID kind of like forced companies like that to reassess what's the point of this really. But I still feel like they're going to do bigger production styles presentations like that.
You don't think they'll just stick to state of plays moving forward?
I would hope not. I really hope not. I mean,
I think they'll do just
right?
They're just going to do state of plays, but they're going to do like a special E3. They're not going to call it E3, but it's going to be one with more announcements. They're going to be longer, but I don't think you're going to have. You're not going to have an orchestra playing. You're not going to have like Jim Ryan is going to get up and speak for like 30 seconds, whereas in the old days that the main guy for Sony would be up there the whole time, or Phil Spencer would be up there the whole time. Now Xbox might do that. I think Phil likes doing that stuff, so he might
he does
present and stay up on like a a homemade stage or whatever. But I just don't think you're gonna get the big. I think they're seeing the success that Nintendo has on doing it on a low scale. Why would you not do it? There's no reason not to do it. It's not like they're getting more money from doing it on a big.
It'd be funny if Nintendo just does a Nintendo Direct Mini and it's just focused on Pikmin 4 gameplay or something for July. That's all they do.
That's it, just that.
Now they could do a huge one and announce like the sequel to Mario Odyssey for the holiday game because they don't have a holiday game lined up yet. So I am curious what because they just did Pokemon. Like I'm curious, like what do they have? They just did a Zelda. Like what has Nintendo got? For
that's a
like,
good.
And it's the timing would work,
Switch,
right? Because
Switch Pro 2, just to piss us all off. Like, why did you release Zelda like 2 months before on your lower?
They would have a pro version. They would have
a pro version. That's right. That's right.
I know they would, but my point is, like, I just bought this OLED just because of the Zelda design.
And the pro version of Zelda has no weapon degradation. So.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's the selling point right there.
Because the technology could handle it.
Because the technology can handle weapons not breaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
New DLC for Vampire Survivors has been announced. It's only $2, just like their last one was. It's gonna have new characters, tracks, weapons, that whole deal. New area. It's called
like a new folk.
The Tides of Foscari is what it is. So
no.
So there you go. $2.
No.
Whatever. That game rules, dude. Whatever.
That game's great.
It also won the Game of the Year from 2022 at the BAFTA Awards this past week.
What? Vampire Survivors did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Those British people. Hello. I like the way you just kill vampires. You don't really have to do anything. You just stand there and things start racing.
Well, I'm disappointed in my people. I usually love them, but no, that's
Who's your people?
Yeah, who's your people?
I'm from London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, what are they?
You really
when they're
turn
thirsty,
off your accent for us.
When they're thirsty, what do they ask for over there?
A tea.
What? Tea? They ask for tea.
A tea? Do they?
They don't ask for a container of any kind of.
Yeah,
liquid?
they don't ask for a container of a different.
They don't ask for that. They ask for a container. Of
They don't drink any bottles of water.
There it is. All right.
There
No bottles of water.
They don't sit around drink bottles of water while reading Harry Potter. They don't sit around.
All right.
While yelling at their daughters.
Their favorite John Mayer song is "Daughters."
The speaking of DLC, Cyberpunk 2077's expansion called Phantom Liberty is going to have a whole bunch of new details revealed in June. Although I don't know exactly how. I think that could be the Xbox.
Microsoft.
Yeah, it could be the Xbox, or if PlayStation has state of play, or both. CD Projekt Red seems to kind of get along with both, so we'll see.
Keanu went up on the Xbox stage, right? So
He did.
maybe,
But we do know this, that
Idris Elba's in it.
Idris Elba's in it, and so they're going to talk more about the details of that. Hopefully, even give us a release window. We don't currently have a release window, but we do know it's the biggest budget DLC content that CD Projekt Red has produced. And so, if you think back to like Blood and Wine, that was a massive expansion. Yeah. And so, this is a bigger budget than that. That's awesome.
Wow, it's crazy that they're still. I mean, I'm happy that they are, but it's wild that after the launch fiasco, I know the game has turned a corner and it's really good now. You know, No Man's Sky style. But it's crazy that, like, you know, whoever, investors are still like, yeah, you know, whatever, here you go, millions of dollars, you know.
Yeah.
It's cool, though. I like it, but I'm
with you.
It's just kind of wild.
I'm with you.
Yeah, a little bit.
PS Plus games for April, Meet Your Maker, which we talked about a little bit earlier, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and Tales of Iron, which we also talked about earlier.
Oh, nice.
Coming out to PS Plus.
Sackboy.
This coming month.
Nice.
Actually, so this Tuesday, I should have access to those.
That's a fun game.
I know all of us were wondering what Bobby Kotick's take was on how to keep a good relationship going.
Please tell me what that piece of shit thinks, all right? Tell me what that
Activision
CEO froey piece of shit. No, okay.
So no, you're not kidding. Activision CEO Bobby Kotick, he gave his take on the Sony merger, and so basically, and he was being interviewed, so he had a whole bunch to say, but the summary is that he called their behavior around trying to block this merger disappointing, but he said he doesn't think it'll damage their long-term relationship, and so I think we should take that to heart, because everyone wants relationship advice from this guy. He really knows what it takes to get along with other people.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice people on a certain cause.
Yep. He's the guy. He
knows how to unite smaller companies to his companies.
He does indeed.
And take their ideas and then dissolve them away. So then he has their idea that he stole from them, which is what DJ Hero is, for example, because there was the small company that made something called Scratch, right, and showed it to them, and they were like, no, that's dumb. And then at some point they were like, no, we're gonna make a DJ game, and they basically took so that's the thing.
Even used a title that like Guitar Hero, but we're gonna call it DJ Hero. Got it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
They got no original ideas.
Well, I mean, they owned Guitar Hero Activision, so
they did indeed.
It made sense to make it a hero game, but
gotta make it.
I do recall that lawsuit and going, "Oh, they're going to take this off the shelves," because that's a pretty good argument. Yeah,
that's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. We already talked about Last of Us and some of their roughness that they are beginning to smooth out. Not everyone's having the issues, but yeah, we already talked about that. The God of War actor who played Tyr. So Ben Prendergast said, "That's not the last you've seen of Tyr." He probably wasn't supposed to say that, kind of like last week with what's his name, Todd,
Zelda.
who's playing Venom.
Tony
Todd. So sometimes actors can they get excited. That's just great. They're excited about the projects they're working on. But anyway, Prendergast, who plays Tyr, said, and I'll say this: this is not the last you've seen of Tyr. It's like, all right, buddy, don't.
Does he mean maybe the post game, like post main story stuff that not a lot of people have gotten through? Like, I don't.
No, I think he means more content's coming. So either DLC.
Because they didn't do DLC for the first.
Outside chance he could mean the TV show.
DLC with this one.
You think so? That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I'm down. But
I mean, could he mean the TV show, like the character of Tyr coming to the TV show? So
he means so many things. He could just mean like a comic or a book.
I mean, it's not as obvious as Tony Todd saying Spider-Man 2 is coming out in September.
Marketing pushes in August. Like he knew all the details.
Yeah.
Just like,
whoa, hey. Whoa.
Yeah, easy, buddy, easy.
You say Candyman 5 times or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's his character.
Kind of some slack, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
As was leaked earlier, it's now been confirmed by Microsoft that there's a Diablo 4 edition of the Xbox Series X that's going to be coming out. Don't get too excited. It doesn't look cool. It looks like a normal Series X. So it doesn't have like any kind of cool designs. When I first saw it, I was like,
coming out of it.
Where's the picture? There's nothing. There's no fire, no flames on it.
It's on fire when it comes to you.
Yeah.
The
controller and console are just standard versions.
That's a bummer.
But it includes the game and some in-game items. Basically, it comes packaged with the game, and it's going to be $60 more than the standard. I don't know.
Isn't there like a specific Xbox Series X Elite type of controller where you can change the covers on your controller or something?
I don't know about
there
changing
was.
the covers,
It's the
but there's an
Elite
elite controller. But can you change
Yeah.
the covers?
Like you
there?
can like you
Can you do
remove
that?
the plastic covers and put like different colors on there or different
I
themed
don't think so.
plastic things.
Huh?
I thought I saw that somewhere. I don't
Just
know.
paint it. Just get
You
some
can
paint and
Just
slap it.
create-
paint it, guys. If you want
You can
special
create now. I think it's now available. You can create in the Microsoft like controller creator. They have it
Yeah,
where you
yeah.
can create Elite Series
Yeah, I'm
2, so
thinking
you
of
can change the
create-
colors now.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's
Just like I
something
can't even
That
imagine.
wasn't available with the first one, but it's now should be now available for the second one.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
All right,
That's
well, I
what
know
I
it's
was
getting
thinking
late.
of.
We need to wrap this up. Let's close it out with our thoughts on the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom gameplay reveal that happened this week. I watched it 3 times. Once
Ooh.
solo, and then once with one of my kids, and then the other kid was like, "I want to see it too," so I watched it again with them.
No, it's because you
And-
didn't understand anything. You're like, I need
Because
to
I'm an idiot. I was
rewatch
like, "Wait, you put a
What?
pitchfork on the stick?"
it."
But
Stick rock.
Derek already talked about some of these things, some of the new skills that you have, like Fuse, which they just kind of gave a brief glimpse at what you can do with Fuse to make weapons. So like you get a stick, that stick's kind of weak and it'll break pretty easily. But if you fuse it with this boulder, now you have this ridiculous giant club hammer thing you can use to smash things somehow easily too. Like you guys were mentioning, like he's just like swinging this boulder around, no problem. That's fine. They
absolutely.
showed him at one point attach a stick to this gigantic log he was using as a huge club. He attached the spear to this pitchfork and had this ridiculously lengthy weapon that he could attack with, which I thought looked hilarious because the enemy was way far away and he's like jabbing him with it. I was like, that is so funny.
I actually didn't watch the 10-minute vid. So
Oh, you didn't?
You're
Okay.
not.
No.
You're not even okay. Fire him again.
Fake fam.
Like I don't.
I mean,
I know.
I
Why
don't,
are you
I don't
even
want
here?
to see it because I don't
Why?
want to see it.
Why do you
So
do
I thought the
this?
fuse skill looked pretty cool.
Unacceptable.
And I feel like it's one of those things that has a potential to like people are going to break the game with it, but that's probably why this game took so long to develop.
Oh, I mean, that's why, like, with Derek going back and replaying the game, it's like there's been so many of like, can you believe you can do this in the game? And even like more
Yeah,
recently,
yeah.
I think there was like a new thing that somebody like showed off, like this the way that you can manipulate the physics and like use the powers to do certain things is bananas. It's just insane.
And I think they're doubling down
It's
on that. They're like, hey, people came up with some
Yeah.
cool stuff, and let's give
Yeah.
them some new skills. Same world. We're just going to expand it. Now you can
It's
go up
just
to
a
these
big
sky.
playground.
By the way, the sky islands look awesome. You can go way up high in the air, and then you can also just skydive straight back down to the ground. Like that all looks great. The rewind feature reminds me of the game that Jeff and I talked about a few months back called the Entropy Center, where you can essentially rewind what happened to an object. So the example they show is this rock falls down from a sky island. You climb up on the rock and then use your rewind power, and it'll lift you right back up to the island. So the rewind power could be pretty cool. I'm assuming you'll be repairing stuff that broke. Like think of Reparo from Hogwarts Legacy, where you fix a bridge. I'm assuming stuff like that as well. For that rewind power, I thought that was cool. And then the Ascend. We saw that teased in the very
where
first
you phase through the ceilings.
Yeah, you can kind of phase through any ceiling, which looks like another nice way to kind of reach things that are kind of hard to climb to.
Dude, yes.
So those were the main. Oh, and there was another ability that kind of looked like Fuse, but it was different. It basically you like super glue these items together that you're not going to use as weapons. But like they showed how you can make a boat and then attach these fans in the back of the boat. Now you got a speedboat, or you can attach it facing down. Now you got a hovercraft that can fly up into the air. Like, all right,
wow,
they're giving you.
It really is like a
playground.
A playground.
It's almost overwhelming. Like it's almost.
It is for me. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Well, they even said like a lot of these items, like these aren't things that you'll find. Like, you're not going to find a boat in the game, but you'll find plenty of objects you can use to build something that'll operate as a boat in the game when you use your powers.
So you can make an airship, basically.
You could. That's exactly what someone in the trailer
they showed. Final Fantasy.
They showed a guy like flying. He had a sail on it. He had all these. It was very.
Zelda was first.
It was very basic, right? Like 5 logs,
God damn it.
a couple of like 4 fans on each corner, and then a sail, and then he just flew up into the air. And I was like, okay, all right. So
all right.
This is gonna be something.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot.
Okay, all right.
And the first game's already a lot. So
yeah,
the first game's already a lot. So
I thought it looked gorgeous again. Like Derek said, the Breath of the Wild is still a good-looking game. Yes, considering the platform that it's on, but even not thinking about that, it's still a very pretty game. Like it still looks great. The art design is fantastic on it.
Amazing.
And
Link's
this looks
hair's gorgeous.
Say
George
his hair is
just-
gorgeous.
And this one, his hair's even longer. You guys.
I read
It's
some
flowing.
article like I think it was Polygon. I didn't read the article, but the header was like Link is like the gay hero we've all been loving for. I'm like, guys, try so freaking hard to make
What?
everything woke.
What?
It was some article I think from like Polygon that said something like, and it didn't release today, so it wasn't like April Fools. Where it was, they were
Wasn't
dead
like
serious about how Link's like the gay
I mean-
trans character we've always like.
the gay
what?
icon in gaming.
But okay.
no, I think
sure.
they meant to say Tingle from the Zelda games. Now
Oh,
he's the
sure,
gay
yeah.
icon
Yeah, he is.
in
He's
gaming.
he's very brave
So.
and stunning.
He is brave and
Tingle's-
stunning. I thought that this gameplay clip, I guess you could say, was about 10 minutes long. It still felt super short when he was done. I was like, no, like there's so much more I
Yeah.
want to see. This game looks
Yeah.
massive, and like of course, even the draw distance, as you can see everywhere you can explore. Again, I was like, dude, how does this work on a Switch?
I
It
found
looks-
it. It's Link is a gay icon. And
I was
Zelda
moving on
fans
from
know
that.
It.
Okay.
No, I am not, and it's Polygon.
Of
So-
course, it's Polygon.
Obviously. Either them or Kotaku. It's always one of them.
To quote Bill Burr, what did you think that they thought?
What did
Yeah.
you think they thought?
Even
That's right,
though-
yes.
Even though Kotaku already asked them, and the creator of Zelda or the producer said Link is not gay, but Polygon says he is a gay icon, and
Wow.
Zelda fans know it.
I mean, they know he's
So-
porking Zelda, right? They know that, right? He's porking her real good. Like, no.
That's what we
Big-
thought.
Yeah, he keeps risking his life for her because he's gay.
Sure.
Makes sense.
His big
Makes sense.
breakable wiener.
breakable. It's breakable. It has
It breaks after a few uses.
yeah, after 10 uses it's gone. So
No, but then he takes the rock. He takes the rock and he merges it onto his.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
Boom, problem
sure.
solved.
Yeah.
that
so-
gives a whole new meaning to the term Master Sword. All right, guys, let's
right.
wrap
BBK.
this up. I think that's all we got. I think we covered everything. And next week, hopefully Kyle will be able to join us again. We missed you, buddy. And yeah, I don't think there's anything. We just looked at the games that are releasing.
We got
There's
movie
no,
wise,
like-
we got the Mario movie that we'll.
There's
we'll
no major games. I think we'll be talking about Mario. Most of us are going to be seeing that, I think. So we'll talk about that. And then I have a game for you next week, too. So thank you guys for being here, staying awake. I know it's getting late. Thank you all for watching, listening. We'll see you next time.
Link is gay.